Good evening and welcome to the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net, the most interesting net in two-way radio. Tonight we are live from Studio Vanguard and we are linked in with the following repeaters.
Good evening. Tonight we are linked in with Flagship, Buckhead, Jersey, Watkinsville, Toccoa, Rome, Zebulon, Fort Mountain, Noonan, Columbus, Caves Cove, Madonna, Peachtree, Lookout Mountain, White Oak Mountain, Mount Roosevelt, Ottawa, Chattanooga, and Georgetown.
This net takes place every Thursday evening at 7:30 p.m. I would like to thank all of you who've made the North Georgia GMRS the most expansive and active GMRS network in the country. Your net control tonight is Atlanta 947, WQYR 514. My name is Julie.
In Atlanta 946, WQYR 514. My name is Justin.
And WSAL 368, Atlanta 263. My name is Rogers.
On the net, you can talk about your day's activities, radio equipment, or anything you think we'd like to hear. This is a family-based network, so we encourage you to get your family involved. Guest check-ins are welcome from anyone with a valid FCC call sign. Once the floor is open, it's permissible to address other members of the net by their name or tactical unit number. Your FCC call sign is only required when you sign in and when you sign out of the net. Also, you can tune in to our YouTube channel and follow along, or even better, tune in after the net to hear how you sound to us right here in Studio Vanguard. Remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment so we know you are watching. Tonight's topic, we're going to talk about HT radios and terrain.
Yeah.
All right.
So unlike where we're from in northern Indiana, where it's very, very flat.
Very flat.
You could get on a roof of your house and see for 10 miles. There's probably very few places, unless you're on a ridge line, that you're going to have that kind of visibility. So line of sight is key for HT radios. Well, really for any UHF radio, but especially HTs because you're limited in power. So
and when you get on, why don't you tell us what your favorite radio to use is?
Yeah, because I'm not the expert with HT radios. I have one, and sometimes I forget where the PTT button is. So,
or where the charger is.
Or I've lost so many chargers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, tell us about your experience with the radios. Let's break. You know how when you get your toe just right there on the very, very edge of the PTT button, and you can feel it slipping away under your foot, and you just, any moment now you expect. All right, I think I got this back under control. So, Julie, do you have a segment for us?
Well, I do. Do you want me to do that now, or do you want to go ahead to your announcements before we?
All right, let's go ahead to the announcements. Let me find that page. I think it was not there. There we go. So, it looks like Winter Field Day is this weekend. Now, there is Rogers. Have you heard about a weather event in the area? I don't know how that's going to impact the Winter Field Day. Now, I imagine Saturday is going to be mostly wet. So I think that Saturday could be pretty functional. Sunday could be dangerous. So we just have to be careful. Be weather aware. We don't want to get in a situation where we're out on Winter Field Day and get iced in or iced out, as it may be. So make sure that you don't turn your Winter Field Day activities into a rescue event. Just be careful of that with the weather that's coming. Otherwise, if you can operate from an alternative location, or if you can operate, this would be a good winter field day to operate from home. I know that's not the idea of the field day. We want to get out and into the public and be seen, interact with the public, be able to show the public what amateur radio is, and try to spark some interest from. And you can't do that from your shack, right?
Yeah, and I saw, being safe. I saw where this one ham had almost got electrocuted, because some trees had fallen. Mm-hmm. So with us having this cold spell coming in, maybe people need to be safe out there because trees can fall and then maybe knock down a few power lines. So always kind of be safe when you're going out as well.
And sometimes the trees will just push a power line over. It could push a power line into something conductive and create havoc that way. So we got to really be super careful with this ice that we're expecting. So I hope that everybody is well prepared and is able to just shelter in place and stay safe until this, because if we get iced in on Sunday, most likely the ice will be gone in a couple of days and everything will be fine. So if you can just hold out and be weather aware and be prepared, then we should all be fine. So Tech Fest is coming up January 31st. That's next weekend. Tech Fest is a free annual event specifically geared towards amateur radio enthusiasts. This event provides an excellent opportunity for individuals to learn about the latest developments in amateur radio technology. Let me break. We can share knowledge, experience, and network with other radio amateurs. Attendees can expect to see demonstrations of various types of equipment and attend presentations and workshops on a variety of topics. This event is great for anyone who has an interest in amateur radio or GMRS radio, whether you're a seasoned operator or just getting started. Attending the GARS Tech Fest is an excellent way to learn more about the hobby, make new contacts, and discover new ways to use amateur radio technology. So if you're passionate about amateur radio and want to stay up to date on the latest advancements, then attending the GARS Tech Fest is a must. Amateur radio testing will be available from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m., $14 cash. One new development. Now, is there news on the budget? Did something get...
I'm not sure about that.
Not sure? So we don't know. I mean, there may be a government shutdown in our near future. And if that happens, if you can get to the FCC website and get your FRN number now, before the amateur radio testing, before the government shutdown, you can still take your test, and that test can be recorded with your FRN number. And then when the government reopens, then you'll get your license. How long does that take?
Well, you got to wait and see.
So hopefully it won't be as long a wait as Rogers had, but that's just the nature of government operations. So there's not a lot we can do about that. But that is the word of advice: is get your FRN now if you don't. Now, if you have a GMRS license, you have an FRN. So you don't need to worry about that. The same FRN number is the same one that you'll use both for amateur and for GMRS. It's the same thing. If you've got an amateur license and you're looking at getting a GMRS license, that same FRN number is going to work on both licenses. So you don't need to get a new FRN. One FRN is all that you need. But if you don't have a license at all and you're thinking of pursuing either GMRS or amateur, then be sure to get your FRN early. If you missed the Meshtastic Forum presentations at the past Hamfests in Ringgold, Gwinnett County, or in Kennesaw last year, Atlanta 557 will be presenting it one last time at the Tech Fest, 11 a.m. in the large forum room. This is your chance to learn firsthand about what Meshtastic is while attending the Tech Fest. Join Ed and see what this emergency comms tech is all about. And if you have a mesh device and you're having issues with it, you can bring it along and they can help you diagnose, troubleshoot, get it back up and running and on the air. I think there's been a format change in the protocol, and so if your unit isn't talking, it could be that it needs to be set to whatever the long fast or short quick or brown fox or whatever that is. Let me break. Ed can tell us more about what that protocol is, but I think there's been a protocol change in Meshtastic throughout this region.
Right.
And if yours isn't talking, like mine's not talking, that could very well be that it just needs to be to set to whatever the current protocol is. All right. The 44th Dalton Hamfest is coming up in about a month. Saturday, February 28th. That's going to be starting at 8 a.m. and it'll run till mid-afternoon. It's one day only. That's going to be at 500 Legion Drive in Dalton, Georgia. I'm probably going to be bringing the patio heater. So if you're chilly at the Hamfest, come on by and you'll be able to warm up your hands and get a little bit of that free heat. So come on by, hang out with me. We'll talk about whatever you want to talk about while you're warming up at the patio heater. In March, there will be the Birmingham Fest. That's going to be March 6 and 7. Friday is from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday starts at 8:30 in the morning, and the event closes at 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon. That's going to be at the Trussville Civic Center, Trussville Clay Road in Trussville, Alabama, just north of Birmingham. Admission is $10, and that's good for both days. North Georgia GMRS Network renewals are closed. So if you have not renewed, you can still get a new membership and become. Now we've seen kind of a rush here in the last couple of days. I wonder if people are curious about communications with this coming storm.
Well, they did say that with this cold spell coming through, some of the weather could snap the power lines or the grid. So we may expect to have some outages.
We might see that, yeah. So if that happens, and you find yourself in peril, there will be people monitoring the network throughout the weekend, and we'll have a plan in place to get somebody to be able to respond if you can't get out on your phone or any other means. So there's going to be. We should expect some of that, so hopefully we're prepared for it, and we'll be in good shape. Let's see, we got some gatherings coming up. I just joined Rogers and Pamela and several others at the Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch last weekend. Julie and I were able to attend. That was a lot of fun to visit.
Great to have you guys there.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, we enjoyed the meal and the fellowship. That was very nice. And there was some conversation that took place. You know, when you're sitting at a table like that, there's like 4 conversations happening at once, and right. Which one you want to tune into. So there was a conversation that was happening kind of in the periphery about SIP phones, and let me break. I would love to have gotten into that conversation because Ham Shack hotline is no more, and I have a Ham Shack hotline phone. I would love to see somebody. Wouldn't it be cool if somebody would stand up a little SIP network for North Georgia GMRS that we could issue North Georgia GMRS TAC number phone numbers to?
Wow. That would be interesting.
Wouldn't it be cool if you
Yeah.
could just punch in, A946 and it rings my phone, or A26 is it 263?
263.
Yeah, A263 and and Roger's phone is ringing. So the technology, this is something that we can do. It's just not something that I know how to do, but I know we got people in the group that can do it. So I'd love to have a conversation about what would it take, what would it cost, and is that something that we can find budget for, or can we pay for it in some other way? Maybe that's an additional membership level.
We have that hooked up years ago.
Yeah, my Ham Shack hotline was still active right up until they shut the servers down.
And weren't you able to call somebody? Wasn't there somebody that?
Oh yeah, Todd Walker.
Yeah,
yeah,
that's right.
There are several
It's
people.
been years ago.
That's right. Several people from within the network. Also, let me break. Also, I had conversations with people overseas, mostly because of wrong numbers, but it was fun. You get this silly thing that it doesn't connect to a regular phone system, so it's not like you're going to get calls from the collection agent or from the doctor's office or from the insurance agent. You're not going to get those calls on it. So the only people that are calling on it are hams. And
Why did you disconnect that?
we when we moved out of the temporary Studio B,
Yeah.
I didn't have a way of having it operational. So
Gotcha.
I would actually come in here and plug it in and let it just kind of sit on the floor in here for about a week in a cabinet over there.
Okay.
And then I would take it back out because I didn't want it to ring during one of our shows and have somebody trying to figure, where's that coming from? What is that?
Right.
So I would do that just to keep it active. But
Sure.
they've shut the servers down, so it's no longer an option for me.
Gotcha.
We need somebody to build out our own little North Georgia SIP.
Pretty neat.
So our ham friends and our GMRS friends can all get in on a little telephone.
How many people can you have on the line? Like a party line or something?
So that's a function of the capacity of your server. So literally tens of thousands. I don't think we need anything quite that large. I think 1,000 would be probably enough. And if we had 1,000 and we needed more, if we have to buy another machine or we'll figure it out when we get there. But I think that'd be a neat thing to have. So anyway, I'm just nerding out here over stupid stuff. So that was one of the conversations that I wish I was able to get in on at the Peachtree Corners Brunch Bunch. The Northeast crew is going to be having their first lunch meetup of the year coming up on. That's going to be next Wednesday, January 28th, at 11 a.m. at Rooster's Cafe in Dahlonega. The storm should be passed by then. Hopefully, we've got roads passable and everything is safe to get out and about again. So everybody, meet Bobby and Joe at Rooster's Cafe, January 28th at 11 a.m. That's in Dahlonega. If you have any questions, need directions, need to know what's on the menu, get a hold of Bobby, Atlanta 403, or Joe, Gainesville 44. The Kennesaw Gathering is going to have their next Meet and Geek coming up Tuesday, February 10 at noon at the Old Town Grill on Cobb Parkway, around the corner from the McCollum Airport in Kennesaw. You can bring your radio or your Mesh-tastic programming issues to discuss and resolve. They'll have a mobile test bench available after lunch where they can test and program the most popular radios or help you set up a Mesh-tastic node. Let me break. If you have any questions, reach out to Ed, Atlanta 557, beforehand on the air or via email at wrqg806@gmail.com. If you're planning to attend, that way they can make sure they have enough seats and make sure they have the right programming cables and software for whatever equipment you're bringing. That's it. Those are the announcements. If you have any news to share, if you have a Hamfest event or some gathering that you'd like to make an announcement of, just let me know at justin@nggmrs.org, and we'll get them added to the announcements. All right. Oh, I gotta stall. I got the finger in the air. Wait a minute. So I'm gonna have to stall here for just a minute. We could go back through the announcements again, but it's really just the same thing over. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All
I'm
right.
sorry. I'm bouncing from chair to chair.
Julie is multitasking in
I
two different
am.
roles this evening, so we do have to cut her some slack. Not very much, though. Just a little tiny bit. All right, let me break, and then it'll be you.
All right. So actually, we have another announcement to make. And this one isn't as easy. So with a heavy heart, I announce our network has lost yet another wonderful member. CW21 George Ellis from Watkinsville, Georgia, passed on Tuesday, January 13th. He's been a member of North Georgia GMRS for over 4 years, so many of you may be familiar with him. According to his loving family, he's been in a state of health decline for the past 8 years, with these last 2 years being particularly difficult. The family wanted us, the members of North Georgia GMRS, to know that this network is what kept him going. And they want to thank the entire network for the opportunity for him to chat with many of the GMRS members. This is a reminder of why we do what we do. This matters. GMRS matters. And more importantly, you matter. I remember when a friend introduced GMRS to Justin and kept hounding him to get a radio and get on the network and get involved in GMRS. We both dismissed it a number of times. We didn't get it. We wondered, what's the big deal? Finally, Justin bought a radio just to shut his friend up. I remember hearing all the radio chatter in the beginning and asking why. Why talk on the radio when you have a cell phone to call and talk to people? I've heard this same question from other family members, friends, neighbors. I've heard this time and again from people who are just learning about GMRS. I hear it from their spouses, from children. The same question keeps popping up. Why? Until you truly get involved, the why is unclear. But once involved, you begin to get it. Cell phones are very limiting. You are limited to only calling those you have already established a relationship with. Think about it. You can't just come up to a stranger and ask for their number. They'll look at you like you're crazy and quickly dismiss you. The radio is more than a tool for preppers. It's more than a means of communication if the sheet hits the fan. The radio is a means of creating and fostering deep and meaningful relationships. It removes all barriers. Friendships develop between the least likely and, let me break, and people who are homebound due to health or any other reasons are no longer having to endure it alone. North Georgia GMRS has been a bridge for George Ellis and so many others to build lasting friendships and develop a true sense of community. That's why. That's why we are here. That's why we do what we do. And that's what keeps us coming back for more. Thank you for being the best, most gracious radio operators that we have the honor of serving. It's because of you that makes North Georgia GMRS the best network in the country. That's a hard announcement.
Yeah, it is, and I know that Larry was very common, very popular on the air, very very well spoken of, and it's a testament that somebody can be in that state in life and be able to make so many connections, meaningful connections, and bring purpose to their lives. So And that's only possible because of this audience, because of you, because of the people here, the best radio operators anywhere. And hats off to the community that is North Georgia GMRS. All right, what's next on our itinerary here? We have Julie's tips.
Yeah, but I'm not seeing it up here.
Oh,
Oh,
that's interesting.
yes, it is.
All right. Well, maybe we need a minute, and we'll figure out where Julie's tips went. It could be that it just never made it there.
Yeah.
So let me see if I can figure that out. So,
All right.
I'll tell you.
I could probably pull it up elsewhere.
Do you know how to import it into the teleprompter?
if I can find it?
If you can figure that out, then I will go ahead and start taking check-ins, and then after we take a round or two of check-ins, we'll go back to Julie's tips.
Sounds good.
All right, then. With that, let me go ahead and announce we've got a couple of YouTube check-ins that have come across. We've got WS. Oh, this is Atlanta 284 Lawrence in Griffin. There's a note over here, but I can't see all of it. Okay, so this is going back to what we were talking about earlier with the emergency weather. This note says check with your ham club, because some clubs have moved their winter field day location, probably moved it indoors. So check with your club. The Atlanta Radio Club has moved its location, so you can find more information on our Facebook page. Let me break. So just bear in mind that the winter field day doesn't necessarily have to be canceled. I just want people to be safe in their winter field day operations. So let me get back to this. Atlanta 284 Lawrence in Griffin is a YouTube check-in. We've got Miko from upstate New York. Thanks for hanging out with us again, Miko. Glad to have you along. Atlanta 355 Damon in Canton also checking in on YouTube. With that, we'll continue check-ins from any repeater other than flagship. If you're checking in on a flagship machine, please hold your traffic. Otherwise, call Net Control. Check in now. Did we get everybody? Is that McDonald's 22?
WRCR 952, McDonald 22. Checking in at Covered Stockbridge. It is. WSBW 903, Roosevelt 17, Keith in Rockwood, Tennessee. Check me in and out, please.
This is David, WSAJ 453, Atlanta 17. I'm brand new. Anyway, I'm in Decatur, Georgia.
This is Atlanta 317, WSHF 269. Checking in, checking out. Sorry, I'm on flagship, but this may be the only time I get to check in. Have a good net. Be safe this weekend. I'm clear.
Last station, one more time with your tap.
This is WRKK 629. Check Chattanooga 84 in and out. I'll be listening.
Last station checking in on flagship. Can you come back with your tack, please?
Atlanta 250. Justin, I do believe that was Atlanta 317. David, he's at work right now, and he was quickly checking in while he had a quick break.
All right, Dana, thank you. I've got that now. All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. We have McDonough 22 Tim in Stockbridge in with us tonight. Roosevelt 17 Keith in Rockwood in and out. Atlanta 17 David in Decatur is in tonight. Columbus 10 is a YouTube check-in. Patrick from Fortson, Georgia. And Atlanta 317 David checking in while he's on break. I'm going to go ahead and show David is in and out. If he's at work, hopefully he can listen. But I'm betting he's not going to have a chance to come back and chat. We've got another YouTube check-in from WRQE398. That's going to be Richard in Hayesville. Glad to have you along again, Richard. Thanks for that. And we have Chattanooga 84. Jim in Hickson is in and out. We'll continue with check-ins from any repeater anywhere. Net control standing by.
This is
Open a browser, and it'll be a shortcut right there at the top of.
Woodstock. Get check in.
Just open a new tab.
I'll be in and out.
And look at the shortcuts on the upper left. Should be 2026.
This is
And then tabs at the bottom.
968 Gainesville 100 Randall in Buford. Check me in and check me out.
I got to that screen, I'm like, it's supposed to be right here.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was in the tab.
This is Atlanta 410, WSJJ 539, Ted in Talking Rock, in and out.
Did you get the guy from Talking Rock?
Mm-hmm. He's in there twice.
Mm.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. We've got Gainesville 100 Randall in Buford. It's great to see you at the luncheon Saturday, Randall, and had a great time visiting with you and everybody else that was there. Got you marked as in and out. Also, Atlanta 410 Ted in Talking Rock. I've got you marked also as in and out. Rome 11 Mark in Adairsville is a YouTube check-in, as well as Chattanooga 69 Ronnie in Las Vegas. He is the Velvet Elvis, and he is a YouTube check-in. And that's what we've got at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and put my stake in the ground right there, and we'll have Tony continue taking YouTube check-ins as the program goes on, and let's see if Julie is ready for Julie's tips.
Yep, I would say I've got it pulled up now. So, as I mentioned earlier this week, we're talking about HT radios, commonly referred to as handy-talkies, portables, and/or walkie-talkies. Many people just getting started in the world of GMRS often resort to purchasing handheld radios as their first purchase. They're easy to buy, inexpensive, and fairly easy to program. These are all things that appeal to someone just scratching the surface of radio. As a matter of fact, our very first radio was exactly that, an inexpensive radio, programmable from its keypad, and simple to operate. We had good signal reports from our driveway to the Pine Log and Sassafras repeaters, both of which are now decommissioned. HT radios offer tremendous flexibility in operating, allowing users to be out in the open, operating away from buildings or vehicles. They also offer a very low cost of entry, with many HTs costing less than $50. But unlike other portable handsets, such as cell phones, analog radios don't behave well when an HT is on the move. With HTs, it's important to stand still when you transmit. Justin and I often monitored the network on one of our HTs while we walked the dogs around the high school campus. We would often notice that even the receiver suffered from the motion of walking. I would encourage all new users to power up their HTs and listen to radio traffic while out walking to get a sense of how the signal sounds. When transmitting with an HT, it's best to stand still and upright with your antenna pointing upward as you key the radio. Some of us will be close enough to a repeater that it won't matter, but most of us will have to operate our HTs more carefully. As I mentioned, most of us enter GMRS with inexpensive HT radios, but soon learn these radios don't perform as well as we'd like. Many of us go down the path of searching for a better radio, but are reluctant to spend a lot of money. So we buy, step by step, what we believe are incrementally better radios. However, there's not much difference between a $100 radio versus a $50 radio. The radios are mostly the same, but the bells and whistles are a little different. Let me break. To truly get into a high-performance handheld radio, you really need to avoid the consumer-grade radios and look at a professional class Part 90 radio. These radios can be found sometimes on eBay, but they are not as common as they used to be, and they're getting more and more expensive as the supply of used radios diminish. While they cost more, a commercial Part 90 radio for GMRS use is available at Hobbit Communications. These radios are rugged and will last a lifetime. And with a 3-year warranty, you can trust it to perform in the long run without the hassle of RMA and warranty claims. Also, just as a reminder, and this applies to any radio on our network, remember to slow down just a bit. Leave some time between transmissions in case someone needs to comment in. And don't forget to pause for a second or two after you press the PTT so that all of the repeater links make contact before you speak. These are just a few of the preferred practices of North Georgia GMRS members, and these procedures are how we become the best operators on the nation's largest, most advanced linked repeater network. And remember, if you have any questions or suggestions for new user tips and operating procedures, you can send me a note at julie@NGGMRS.org. We are North Georgia GMRS Network, and this is Atlanta 947, WQIR 514. My name is Julie. And I think with that, I may be done.
I think so, yeah. So this is the part where we normally go to check-ins, but we've already done that. Okay. So, but I think, well, let's take one last round of check-ins. All right, so if you didn't hear your name called out, it could be that we missed you. And I think we did miss a couple. I think that there's a couple of people that have tried to check in twice because maybe they didn't hear their name acknowledged. But in any case, we'll take a quick round of check-ins from any repeater, including the flagship machine, and then we'll go ahead and jump into the program. Julie, thanks for the segments this evening, and we'll
absolutely
we'll see you next week on the ARA.
All right. Good night, everyone.
All right. There. I got to press the button down. Was I even on the air for any of that? I might not have been. Okay, we're going to take one quick round of final check-ins from any repeater anywhere, including the flagship machine. Now, I know we've already done this, but I've just got this feeling that somebody got left out. We will take another final round of check-ins before we close the program, but let's just check one more time here to see if I missed anybody. Rogers, do you think I missed anybody?
Let's see.
And we'll find out. So if I did not call your name during the last round of acknowledgments, it could very well be that I missed your check-in. So this will be last chance until we get to the end of the program. Net Control, standing by.
Okay. Good night, you guys.
All right, good night. Good night. All right. Great job. Great job.
This is Whiskey Sierra Hotel Golf 331, Atlanta 350, checking in and out. Thanks.
Seems like we've already got Ted.
Atlanta
That was a different
306, George Loganville, WSFR 920, checking in and checking out.
Atlanta 306. I thought I heard him too. I'm going to put him in here because...
This is Atlanta 177, WSEL 241, Nelson, checking in and checking out.
This is Chattanooga 144 to BRV 679, Jerome and Rocky Face, checking in and out.
Michael, WSIZ 923. I just want to hear what I sound like on the YouTube live stream.
All right, let me go ahead and acknowledge this round of check-ins. I think these might have been all check-ins that I missed. It seemed like every time one would come, I think I heard that one, but then I would go and I would look through the log and not see him. So I think that I think these are all check-ins that I missed. So we have Atlanta 350 Ted in Tucker. I've got you in and out. Atlanta 306 George in Loganville. I've got you marked as in and out. Atlanta 177 Nelson in Decula. I've got you marked as in and out. Chattanooga 144 Jerome in Rocky Face. You're in and out. And we heard WSIC, I think it was 923 Michael. He just wanted to hear how he sounds. So, Michael, if you're watching on YouTube, there is a little bit of a delay. So you should probably have already heard yourself. If not, you're going to be, well, he would have already heard himself because I'm talking after him. So, Michael, your audio was a little bit low to us. If you can find a way to get your audio up, that would definitely improve your signal. But good, clean carrier. And
yeah, definitely readable.
Absolutely, yeah. So there you go. And also, we have YouTube check-in from Atlanta 379 Scott in Sandy Creek, New York. Glad to have you along. Looks like one more. No, that was me. Okay. All right, so that's going to do it for check-ins. We're going to take one final round of check-ins before we close the program. But for now, we're going to jump right into the topic, which is HT radios in North Georgia terrain. So it's one thing to be able to operate a radio, like where I'm from. You can have a radio at the house and be able to talk all across the farm. We didn't really engage in GMRS radio back in those days, but the terrain is such that you really don't have much in the way of line of sight obstructions. You might have a woods, depending on where you're at on the property, or if you're on an adjacent property, there might be some woods in the way. There could be some barn, farmyard barn buildings in the way, silos, things like that. But I've often thought that in that region, if you could put a repeater on top of a grain elevator, your grain elevators are going to be anywhere from 75 feet to 125 feet high.
Oh yeah, that's plenty.
And they're easily the highest thing. Our trees in northern Indiana are 60, 70 feet. You know, we have trees in Georgia that are 100 feet.
Right. Yeah.
I've got 60 and 70 and 80-foot trees right here in this backyard, and I might have one over there in the corner that goes, it probably goes maybe like 110. It's huge. It's a huge tree. So we don't have trees that big in northern Indiana. So if you get on top of a grain elevator, you're going to be over that, and I think you're going to have outstanding coverage. But we have this thing here in Georgia called terrain, and that changes things, because if you've got a ridge line between you and the radio you're trying to hit, or if you've got, you know, if you've got municipal, if you've got, what am I trying to say, city, yeah, let's go ahead and break. If you've got structures in between you and your station, you're probably going to have a tough time. So, and some radios are going to be able to pull a signal out of that multipath and that reflectivity better than other radios can. And so it all boils down to the quality of your front end. If you have a good receiver and good filtering and good radio performance from a high performance manufacturer, then you're going to be able to hear things that the BTEC guys are just not going to be able to pull out. So there is a difference in how a quality radio performs, and so that's what we'd like to hear about. Is what is your experience, and what radio would you recommend when you're operating in marginal conditions, when you're doing simplex operations, or when you're doing just operating out there on the fringe of your coverage area? Which radios have made the difference in being able to get that contact through versus?
Yeah, you know, when I first started GMRS, we did a hike up to hiking up Stone Mountain, and I had my little 5-watt, you know, cheap HT with me, and a buddy of mine, he was able to hear me from the top of Stone Mountain. He was able to hear me maybe 20 miles away,
right? And
that's off of 5 watts, but of course, I'm up 3,000 feet,
right?
So. Like I said, height is might, and sometimes with the HT, you know, even if it's a cheap one, if you're up high, you know, you're gonna get out there. All right.
That's right. And if you can achieve that line of sight, you know, that will oftentimes be a difference maker. Just getting that elevation, and even if you don't have absolute line of sight, you know, you've got maybe some structure, some trees, some forest, you know, on the periphery of one radio or the other. Just having the elevation on one or the other can sometimes be the difference. With our repeaters, you know, we have high performance receivers in our radios. These are commercial class, you know, these are class A machines, and so they're able to hear and pull a signal out of the noise a little bit better than you might be able to if you're on the same ridge line with your mobile or with your HT. So these radios perform at a little different level than our consumer grade radios are capable of. But you know, we do the heavy lifting with the repeater by having a high sensitivity receiver and a high performance transmitting station at these repeater sites. So we're operating, you know, at our power limits, and we're operating, you know, within the limits of what the rules allow. And we're able to really maximize the performance of those repeaters in those locations. So that's, I think, part of the reason why this network sounds and works so well is because we do have these high performance machines in place, and it allows a lower performing machine to sound better than it really is, because it's able to interface and have that quality of signal path because of that elevation at the repeater site, and because of the quality of radio that we're using at these sites. So what kind of radios do you run, and what would you recommend? So let's go. Looks like first on our list is Atlanta 532 Tom in Flowery Branch. Tom, what's your go-to radio for operating through terrain? Does Tom engage in simplex operations?
I'm not sure. I know I hear him on the radio every day.
Yeah.
But not sure about simplex.
He's up there in Flowery Branch with good elevation and good coverage back to flagship.
He should.
I think he can operate from an HT and at his easy chair. Tom, what have you got for us?
Well, good evening, Net Control. I usually use my little Radiodity GM30 as a handheld. That's the only handheld I've got. bought that when I originally got involved with GMRS, and it's done me pretty well. I know they're not the greatest radios in the world, but I've had good luck with it. And I can reach the flagship repeater from Flowery Branch, which I know is probably 30, 32 miles, but I do have a good line of sight, nothing in the way. So it's been doing me a good job for going on 5 years now, and for the price, you can't beat them. If it breaks, you can throw it away and buy it.
Well, I think price is a consideration. All right, that's first and foremost, and that's what Julie and I started with. Was a very cheap BTEC GMRS V1, and for $50 radio, it performed reasonably well. We were able to do some remarkable stuff with that radio, but when you pair that radio against a Kenwood HT, the audio difference is night and day, and the clarity of being able to have that radio on and across the room and be able to understand what's being said versus an inexpensive radio. There's a difference in how they perform even at that level. So, but if the Radiodity is serving you well, then keep at it. I think I still have a Radiodity. That's one of those radios. I think I bought a pair of them a long time ago, and I've given them away a number of times, and they keep coming back. But usually they come back because somebody has developed an interest and they purchased their own radio.
Yeah,
So,
that's what you want.
Yeah. So I think I still have one, and quite honestly, I couldn't tell you where or who I've given the radio to last. But that it's one thing that is also nice about an inexpensive radio is if you give it to someone to try to spark an interest and it doesn't come back, it's not the end of the world. I'm not using it anyway, so if they lose it, or if it sparks an interest and they just keep it, either way, the whole goal is to try to get people engaged in radio, and that's one good way to do it. Well, thanks for that, Tom. Glad to hear the Radiodity is performing well for you. Next on the list, we have Chattanooga 260 Colt in Dalton. Now, Colt probably has all of his money tied up in the antenna. What do you think?
Yeah, he's got some pretty interesting combinations and setups there. HTs, SATCOM antennas. He's got it all.
I think so. So, Colt, tell us, what do you do for North Georgia terrain?
Chatting at 260 WSDM 404 Colt, coming to you from the carpet capital of the world. I do have a lot of things. I will tell you that the coolest things is I'm a big Motorola guy, so I have a Motorola APX 8000, 7000 that I use for some work stuff, and then I have North Georgia GMRS in there too. You can get a $50 radio, you can get a $8,000 radio. I don't find them to be a lot of difference, but I will tell you that the Motorola for me and the higher end Kidwood, like the Hobbit sells, is the microphone is what really sound in the speaker coming out is what it is for me. Not so much the reception, but hey, how good does that radio sound for me? So my APX 8000, which is my primary at the moment, I think we're going to be switching to next pretty soon, but that's my main radio. I have a BNC adapter on it. All my radios have BNC adapters. And for me, if you're saying, hey, an HT, it doesn't matter if it's a Balafing or an $8,000 Motorola, it's the antenna. The antenna for me is where it's at. And that's why I run the BNC adapter, whether I can run my, the ZB-M2s, which is Zulu Bravo Mary 2 antennas, which are a whip, which is what you see for your wildland firefighters, people in the back country that need to get a UHF signal out. These are custom cut just for whatever frequency I'm using. And then I have a couple of SATCOM antennas, which I do play with satellites. I think, Justin, you've done that. But I'll tell you the cool thing about it is that they're in the frequency band of UHF or GMRS, and they're basically really beautiful Yagis. So if you know where you're trying to hit, you can hit that repeater very well. But my dirty little secret radio, the one I don't tell all the cool cats and kittens and don't bring home to my mama, is a Balafing K6, which is a tri-bander. I think I picked up for $20. I don't know what it is about that $20 radio. I absolutely love it. Besides, I can run on the secret frequencies with the 200 megahertz. But it's not much different than my $8,000 radio. So I will tell you, though, I do love my Motorola's. But if I can leave you with any advice, put a BNC adapter on your radio and buy a really nice antenna. Back to you, Net Control.
So there you go, and I've heard that from other users as well. That Smiley makes an inexpensive accessory antenna for HTs, and a number of folks have had great success with the Smiley antennas. I've never used one. For me, an HT is more of a tool than a if I want to be able to get a good signal out, then I'm probably going to go to the truck. The HT is something I mostly monitor with, and I do have some ICOM HTs for you, Bobby. In fact, if I can find them, I'm going to gift them to you because I'm absolutely not using them, and you maybe would give them to somebody who would appreciate them. So look for that to happen. I got to find them first, but it's coming. But the removable antennas. I'm of the camp that I don't want a big floppy antenna on my HT. I just want the factory antenna that's there. I figure the factory antenna is going to be matched to the radio because in HTs, not all HTs are 50 ohms.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the impedance ends up being, 42 ohms, 58 ohms. They don't fall right into that. So it just all depends on where that radio lands. Whereas with a mobile radio, they do tend to be much tighter at 50 ohms. They're going to be at 48, 52, but they're going to be right there. Where HTs often tend to be out there a little bit more, which means that if you get an antenna that's cut to 465 megahertz, but it's 38 ohms instead of 50 ohms, then that's going to affect the tuning of that antenna because the impedance is just slightly different. So I've always been a little bit concerned about getting antennas that match up. Now, I think that when you get into the commercial radios, they're a lot more stable at 50 ohms, but we've seen impedances on HTs all over the place. And so I think it becomes a bit of a crapshoot. All right, so when you try these antennas out, SWR is not that important in receive. All right, you can get away with having a mismatched antenna on receive, and sometimes just having a lot of antenna can improve the sensitivity on your radio to a certain degree. So just having a bigger antenna and having more element in the air can draw in a little bit more signal. But when it really counts is when you go to hit that PTT. If you have a mismatch in that circuit, then you could damage your radio. But at 5 watts, it's not likely that you will. You probably just burn out your battery faster. But you're going to make heat instead of airwaves. Let's break. And so that's just something I've always been a little bit concerned about. And so it comes down to, do you get any bang for your buck? And I think Colt is getting it. He's finding the antennas that perform well enough and match the radio closely enough that he can get that extra measure of performance. But when you're looking at budget antennas, I'm not sure you're really going to achieve very much of that. So something to consider. Your factory antenna has been matched to your radio at whatever impedance it happens to be at. And rather than build the extra bulk to make sure that the output lands at 50 ohms, why not just take it at 38 and match the antenna at that frequency, at that impedance? And so when we do that, we have a circuit that can perform reasonably well in that environment. So, but like I say, Colt has found antennas that perform well for him, and that's okay.
And I look at antennas kind of like tires on the car.
Mm-hmm.
You can have the prettiest car in the world, but if your tires are bad, it's not going to go anywhere. So same thing with the HTs and antennas. You need a good quality antenna to get a good signal out. And like you're saying, Justin, an antenna that's matched to the band that you're operating in as well, and the ohms. So,
well, yeah, and the tires on the car is a good analogy because, you know, I like to run highway tires on my truck. I don't like lugs. Therefore, my truck gets stuck in wet grass.
Oh,
much like a car would, right? So, you know, when you get into, you know, what is a truck for? How's it supposed to perform? Well, you need to have a tire on that that can at least move itself around.
Yeah, off road.
Yeah, but no, I've got highway tires on my truck, and so it'll get stuck in wet grass. It has, and it does. So, it's a matter of performance and what you're looking for out of that performance. So I want the factory antenna because I don't want to mess with the extra adapters, the cabling and the connectors. I just want to be able to grab the HT. Mostly I'm going to monitor with it. If I do need to make a call out, you know, if I'm at a place where I know I'm not going to get out with it, I'm just going to go to the truck.
Yeah, but what if you're hiking or you don't have the truck and you really need to get it out?
Yeah, you know, hiking. And I think at my age, hiking is a great way to meet people. Yeah. Because you could meet the paramedics, you can meet the cardiologist, you can meet... So,
people with high-vis vests.
That's right. Yeah, Bobby will be out there with his CERT team, guiding the paramedics to. He's over here. He's on the ground right there. Yeah. By the green cone. All right, Colt. Well, thanks for that, and that's good stuff for discussion. And let's go next to Atlanta 557. If indeed that was Ed that we were able to pull out of the noise, you think he's still in? I bet he's someplace where he can call out by now.
He should be in. He was on the highway when I talked with him a little earlier tonight, so he should be in.
Well, let's see if Ed is available and if he has any recommendations for a good HT for North Georgia terrain.
Well, good evening, folks. Yes, I am home now. I survived the highway, and sorry about that. It was a little scratchy on Buckhead where I was. But, yes, before I do that, Justin, you were exactly right on the Meshtastic. If you want to communicate in this area, you have to switch from the default long fast mode to the medium fast mode, and that's just because we've got so many out there now. It's become so congested. So reach out to me if you have any questions on that. But if you have your node set to long fast and you're not talking to people, that's why. So that's that for Meshtastic. Let me break. As far as radios, Colt stole my thunder. I was going to suggest as well that the most important thing is getting a good antenna. The difference between a 5-watt radio and an 8 or 10-watt radio is minor compared to having a good antenna. I have had great luck with the Smiley antennas, Nagoya also for HTs, and I go back and forth as far as favorite radios. The TID radio H3 was a good one. Anytone makes one. I forgot the model number, but there's one. There's even a how-to video out on the NGGMRS website. But the reason I like those radios is the H3, you can reboot it, and it comes up as a ham radio. You reboot it, it comes up as a GMRS radio. So you can have different configurations depending on what you want to do with it. One more break. The Anytone is a Part 90 radio, so it can be used for both GMRS and for ham, but it has to be the right model number, and it's the one that's on that video that we have on our website. So that is a do-it-all radio. You can, if you've got a ham license, you can use it for that if you've got a GMRS. So those are my favorite radios right now. Of course, every year new models come out, but that's where I'm at right now.
Well, that Anytone radio is a cool piece. My biggest gripe with that radio is the microphone. So when I go to grab that microphone, no matter what, no matter how I pick that microphone up with my big fat hand, I press a button. And it's not necessarily a button that makes any sense or has any rhyme or reason. So by the time I get my other fat fingers around to the PTT button, I'm off on a different channel. I'm in a different band, a different mode. I'm in a different zone. And so that becomes a frustration for me. And that's one of the things I love about Part 90 radios, commercial radios like the Kenwood. There's only one button on my microphone. Now, some of the Kenwood radios that I've used in the past have all the DTMF buttons on the front, but you can still get your hands all the way around that microphone and be able to operate the PTT either with your index finger or with your thumb, and depending on which hand you've grabbed that microphone, and you don't have any fingers on or around the face. And in fact, if you want to press buttons for DTMF tones on that microphone, you kind of need two hands. That's the kind of a club-fisted operator that I am. And so I find a frustration with all the features and functions and stuff that happens on the microphone for the Anytone. Now, there is a lockout key on the side of the microphone, and it helps me a ton. But it can be a frustration. And when I see a radio that has all those buttons on the microphone, I steer clear of that. I think that goes all the way back to my CB days. There was once this inexpensive Cobra radio that had a small box that you could tuck away under the dash and a big fat microphone that was basically the radio. And all of the controls were on the microphone. So your channel change, your volume, your squelch function, that was all on the microphone. And I never liked that radio. I always preferred the more conventional radio with the controls on the faceplate of the radio, and the microphone is just PTT. I guess I'm old school that way from back in my truck driving days and my work in the field on the railroad when using commercial radios for that application. But the Anytone does have a really good consumer pro crossover radio. So it's a little bit of both worlds there. And the nice thing about that radio that Ed's talking about, the one that Jeff did the video on, that's a tri-band radio. And with a good tri-band antenna, it'll hit all those bands pretty well. Let me break. So that gives you a lot of functionality out of a radio. You can do 2 meter, you can do 220, you can do GMRS, and you can do 440 amateur. All out of that same radio. And that I think, that's 3 radios. So when you look at the economics of it that way, it makes it a pretty inexpensive purchase.
And that radio, if he's referring to the 878, I think it does DMR as well. So you can kind of, dive into that also.
That's right, it does.
Digital.
Yeah, it does do digital. So you can plug that in as its own zone. And so you can have analog zones and digital zones on the same radio and be able to pretty seamlessly move, from the analog world into digital. There's just no end to what that radio is good for. So if you're not club fisted like I am, and you can actually pick up that microphone with a little bit of dexterity and coordination, then you should be able to get along with that radio just fine. But I struggle with it. And it's not the radio's fault. It's just me.
Well, one thing about that Anytone, the 878, it does have Bluetooth as well. So a lot of times I pair it with my headphones if I'm out and about, and I still want to monitor, but I don't want to be holding the radio up to my head or have it loud.
Right.
I can still monitor on Bluetooth, and you can actually set it up where you can transmit with that little Bluetooth wireless transmitter as well. So.
Julie has that in her car.
Okay, nice, nice.
Yeah, so
it comes in handy.
That's the way that car's set up. So yeah,
that's nice.
All right, well, good stuff, Ed. And while you were talking, I was able to make that program change to medium fast. So we'll see if this thing starts seeing any. It probably won't see anything while it's in Vanguard. We're inside this Faraday cage.
Yeah, and I was telling Ed, I got to get my Meshastic device as well and get set up this year.
Okay.
So,
you're right.
Ed, I'm coming for you.
Right here it is.
Nice.
Can anybody see that? Yeah, it's right there. So it won't see anything inside the Faraday cage of Vanguard. So I'll take this with me to work tomorrow, and while I'm on the 12th floor, it'll pick up 100 different nodes. And I'll poke around at it tomorrow a little bit.
Nice.
So we'll see if I can find anybody I recognize.
You should.
There'll be
never know.
50 Georgia Tech users, that show up. Georgia Tech has some repeaters and some nodes set up over there, so there'll be a bunch of that. But, all right, Ed. Thank you for that. With that, let's continue on. We've got McDonough 24 Robert in Macon. Robert, were you in or were you in and out? McDonough 24, Robert, are you in with us? All right, we're going to continue on. I'm going to show Robert as in and out. He may have been from the beginning, so that's probably me that missed that. I can't find my... Did my battery just die on the mouse? It did. I've got a dead battery.
Wow.
All right, we'll figure that out in a minute. I can't. Maybe somebody else can show Robert as in and out for me. Next, we'll go to Rome 43 Bill in Cave Springs. Bill, what's your favorite HT to use for North Georgia terrain? Thank you, whoever did that.
Copy that. Rome 43 WSKV 569. In between two mountains, north and south of me, running a BTEC 50 V20 on a common antenna, and doing the best I can do down here in Cave Springs.
I had to make a battery change right there on my on my mouse, but hear that BTEC and the common antenna. That sounds like, is that a mag mount antenna on your vehicle, or how are you deploying that antenna?
That antenna is probably 40 foot high on top of a telephone pole. It's a base station mounted in the house, mobile base station on a BTEC power supply, BTEC radio, and just brand new to all this. Been on it a couple of months and hitting the Rome repeater.
Very good. Well, you've got a great signal into the repeater, and in fact, I think I hear a fan running in the background there. So good audio and very good overall signal. So great combination of equipment there. Do you do any handy-talkie operations, or is it just the base that you have for now?
I've got a handheld I keep on my side-by-side, and when I get out and about around out here on the back roads, but it's just the base station right now is all I'm talking on, and I'm going to incorporate one in my vehicle, but I've not done that yet. But I'm really enjoying the North Georgia GMRS. It's been an experience. It's CB radio back in the old days, and just getting into this and really enjoying it.
Well, good stuff. Glad to have you along, and that's one thing that we've found with North Georgia GMRS. In other bands, in other modes, in amateur radio in particular, we make contacts, but here in North Georgia GMRS, we tend to make relationships, and some of us have found lifelong friends, and we've made connections with people we probably never would have any other way. And I think that there's a lot of value that comes from that. And that's part of what Julie was talking about earlier, right? That we've got people that are monitoring and that are engaged in the radio, and this is their connection to, this is their social media. This is how they interact with people outside of their room, outside of their house, and this can be very important to a lot of people. So I think that being able to recognize and utilize communications in that way is very effective stuff, and that can go a long way toward just making our lives more valuable, more interesting.
Yeah, and I'm on social media all the time, both professionally and personally, And it's just a joy sometimes just to get on the radio, to know that you're not going to be looking at a screen and get notifications popping up. And, you want to talk to one person on text and you got 10 other texts that come in. And so it's good to just sit back, hit the button, PTT on the radio, and just talk.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just monitor. Just, just slow down and just monitor.
Oh, by the time the weekend comes around, I'm so had it with the phone. I just if I could just lose the phone until Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I can't really do that with the nature of my work. I need to be available to some degree. So if things get too messed up out on the line of road, I sometimes have to get involved after hours or on weekends or middle of holidays, and it's nonstop sometimes. But because it's nonstop sometimes, I just want to, I need a break from this thing. So radio is a nice release from that, because you can monitor as much as you want, and you can turn the volume up and down. You can turn the radio off. You can switch to a different band. You're in control of that. Whereas it seems like in a lot of cases that phone's in control of us.
And especially social media. If I want to go and see what my friends are doing, why do other people's feeds pop up, or
right.
people I don't even know? And I'm like, what's going on? I just want to see what my cousin is up to, or my buddy.
And I've got a guy at work that he likes to get started with things early, and so he's an hour before start time. He's in there chatting on the Teams messaging platform, and half an hour before work is even supposed to start, he's got half his day's assigned activities are already done. He's a super go-getter.
Wow.
And that's a great quality, but man, sometimes it just is so annoying. For the most part, I really appreciate his attitude and his effort, and he's really smart. He's a quick learner. He's gonna do great things, But man, why you gotta bother me so early?
It's like, if we start at 8, let's start at 8.
Yeah, I don't want to tell him that. I'm gonna let him. I'm gonna let him keep doing what he's doing. Yeah. And I was just like that not that long ago. I was a go-getter. I've just been burnt out. The railroad has burnt that right out of me. So it may happen to him one day, but I don't want it to be because of me. So, all right, well, good stuff. Glad to have you along, and thanks for tuning in. The comet antenna on a telephone pole. I mean, that's
it. I would love to see a picture of that.
Well, I've got 3 telephone poles laying in the dirt back here behind the building. It'd be so easy to just dig a hole, stand up a pole, and they're 30-foot poles. If you dig a 4-foot deep hole, you've got 25 feet of telephone pole that you can stick it. It's as simple as it gets, right? It's self-standing. You don't need guys. It doesn't take up a lot of space in a yard. If you need a pole and you have a way to move it, come get one of these poles from me. I'd like them gone.
And you say 30 foot?
They're 30-footers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not bad.
You want one?
I wouldn't have the space right now for it.
All right.
But maybe it was somewhere down the line.
All right. Well, if it's still here, then you can have it. But yeah, I had other plans for these poles, but we used one. We used one of them. We cut it up at Flagship and used them for gate posts for the gates there.
Okay.
At the Flagship, the gate that no one uses.
Yeah. That one. Mm.
So, all right. Well, thank you for that, Bill. Glad to have you along. Houston in Austell. Houston, are you still up?
I do like that idea, though. I always wondered about, telephone poles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I'm going to bet that Houston has hit the sack for the evening, and that's okay. If you are monitoring Houston, I do need to get with you. I've got a radio to drop off. Don't know if you remember giving a radio to Red 40, but she's moved on to other things in her life, and radio's just not happening for her. So I'm going to get that radio back to you so that you can gift it to another new GMRS user and spark an interest and do that thing that you do. With that, I'm going to move on to Atlanta. 250 Dana, high atop Mount Olympus. Dana, what do you use for HTs? You're probably on one right now.
Well, good evening, gentlemen, and Tony out there in YouTube land. You guys are doing a great job as always. And yes, you are correct, Justin. I am talking to you right now on a Anytone 878, which is my pretty much daily go-to radio. I use shoulder mics on all of my HTs, so I don't run into that gripping problem that you were referring to. Let me break. And I agree with you, Justin, as well, that I just use factory antennas. Those little boogers are tuned and specifically made for each radio, and I just find that they have the best performance. My other radio, of course, HT, is a Kenwood NX1300, courtesy of Hobbit Communications. And it is a really, really solid, fine working radio, has great audio. So it's just a dynamic radio. Let me break. And then on my go-to or go bags, let's say, or the Apache cases, I have 4 Ocean 935 kg plus radios, all equipped with shoulder mics, extra batteries, and solar charging abilities. So, I have a few HTs, but my go-to is pretty much the Anytone 878. And with that, I'll turn it back over to you, WRWK95. Back to net control.
All right. Well, good stuff, Dana. And that's a workhorse of a radio. One of the things I like about the radios from Hobbit, and I don't see one in that picture. The HT is what I had in mind. Can you grab a Hobbit and bring that to the view? One of the things I like about those radios, all right, and this comes back to my experience in using commercial radios in industry. Those radios are rugged in a way, but they're also simple to operate. All right, because our folks in the field we're technicians and we're mechanics and we are laborers and we are not radio operators. So when we grab hold of an HT radio, having a bunch of controls and buttons and features and bells and whistles and knobs is just not useful. We just need to be able to have a volume control, an on-off switch, and a PTT. And in some applications on the railroad, we also need DTMF in order to be able to tone up a dispatcher. But in most radios, the button configuration is limited to a few buttons on the front and a couple of knobs on the top. And you change your channel, you change your volume, and you turn it on and off right there on the top. You can do the DTMF stuff on the buttons on the front. And they'll even in the programming, they will lock out all of the other buttons so that you don't accidentally put it on scan or accidentally put it on no squelch or accidentally, very basic functions. There are enough base stations around that there's adequate coverage everywhere you're going to be on the line of road. So you don't really have to worry about being able to switch to high power or low power. They just work. And that's what I love about commercial radios. They just work. And so if you're in the market for a radio, I highly recommend Hobbit Communications. Price-wise, the HT is going to cost a little bit more than you can buy the Anytone for. But, it's twice the radio as the Anytone is in terms of it's just solid. It's going to last. It's going to hold up over time. You're going to spend probably about the same for the Kenwood HT as you're going to spend for those Woshi radios. So I think that money-wise, you're doing pretty well by buying these commercial radios. The KG1000 mobile radio is almost the same cost as the NX radio that Hobbit has. I don't see it. It's over there. There it is. So the those NX radios are great radios, and they're very simple to operate once they're programmed. So you don't have to be a well-versed radio expert. You can just hit the button and do the thing, and the radio just works. It does the work for you. In GMRS radio, we don't need all those bells and whistles. Let me break. We don't need a lot of functionality in terms of being able to adjust a squelch on the fly, being able to switch into a different mode, being able to, we just don't need that in GMRS radio. And the NX radios are capable of so much more than we even put them into in GMRS radio. Well, for roughly the same money as you're going to spend on the Anytone mobile radio or the Woshan, the Woshi mobile, you can get into these Kenwood radios, have a machine with a 3-year warranty, and it's just something you're gonna have for a very, very long time.
And the range on that is it 440 or 450 to 470 or what? Or 400 to 470 megahertz?
That's a good Hobbit question, because there are on the older radios, there are like 3 different band sets. So you had the 400 to 470, you had the 450 to 512, and I don't remember what the other one was. But if you had the 400 to 470, you could use that one for GMRS and for a lot of the amateur stuff.
Yeah, the ARA as well.
Yeah, the ARA would fall within that. But if you've got the 450 to 520, you're not going to be able to use that with the ARA. So there were 2 of the type radios in the older series that would work for GMRS. I'm not sure if that carries over to the modern radios or not. I do know there are band splits. I just don't know if they split the same way. So that'd be a good question for Gary, if we can ever get him on here. One of these days, we're going to get him in the studio with us.
I hope so.
Yeah, I think we might have to take the studio to him. I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work yet, but one of these days, we'll get him in here with us. So.
Or we may have to trick him and tell him that we got an antenna down over here or something, and we need some help.
Yeah, we need
help, Gary.
We need Hobbit help here. We need the experts. So, yeah, very good stuff. All right, let's move on to Atlanta 594. We've got Kelly in Marietta. Kelly, what do you like to use for HT radios?
I got into ham prior to GMRS, so I'm a big Yaesu guy. Got a couple VX6Rs, FT5, and I've got Fangs too for compliance on the GMRS. But I really like the Yaesu radios. I'm actually on one right now, and I found that the antenna is key. I don't necessarily trash the rubber duck antenna when I take it out of the box, but putting a diamond long antenna like the SRH-77 Charlie Alpha makes a big difference getting into those repeaters. And terrain is everything, like what was said earlier. This is WSTN 583, Atlanta 594, Kelly.
Yeah, especially when you get into UHF, line of sight becomes such an important factor in being able to pass a message and get it there cleanly. Sometimes we get into the rough. We've got some noise. We've got marginal signal. We can barely make it out, but we can get it. That counts. If you can barely get it, but you get it, then that counts. But who wants to work that hard? I mean, radio is so much more fun when you can easily make out the signal and be able to just carry on a casual conversation. And we tend to do that more in GMRS, but it's also plenty of opportunities for casual conversations in amateur radios and on the amateur repeaters. It's just, I guess the big difference is in your specific operation. So I don't have a lot of experience with the Yaesu radios. I do have one around here somewhere.
I have a Yaesu, the 891. It's an HF rig, so I like it okay so far. I've only had it for like 2 weeks.
That's not a portable though.
It's a portable.
Oh, that is a portable?
It's a mobile.
Mobile, yeah. It's a mobile radio.
HD though.
Right. Yeah. So the 891 is a very common radio, and I think that's a very highly regarded radio too. I don't have that. I've got an HT. I've got a Yaesu HT around here somewhere. It just needs a battery. NiCad batteries. It just needs a battery. So it's old enough that it's a NiCad machine. So that's really what it wants. And my experience is, all right, so here's how I am with batteries and why modern radios are a necessity for me, because I'm going to drop that battery in a charger. I'm going to drop that radio and its battery in a charger, and that's where it's going to sit until I'm ready to use it. So it might sit there for a week. It's not there right now. It's dead somewhere. But when I bring it back in here, it's going to sit there for a week. And you can do that with lithium-ion batteries, but you can't do that with NiCads. And so I'll ruin a battery in 6 months. And so that's what drives me away from some of my favorite Kenwood radios is ruin the batteries, and now they're no fun to operate. And all it needs is another $20, $25 battery, but
it's another headache, another pain to go through.
Right. Yeah. So that puts me back to the Anytone, because I can abuse the Anytone like that, and it's fine with it. It doesn't mind. The battery is almost as good today as it was when I bought that radio. I think it is time for me to buy another battery for that radio, but I still get a day's operation out of it.
And I was thinking about mine too. I was thinking about getting another battery just to have it on standby.
Yeah,
you never know when
you
need it.
If you've got a situation where you could be looking at power out for a couple of days, it might be worth having a couple of batteries, right?
Yeah. Two is what? One is none. Two is one.
That's right. That's right. So right now I have none, but that is a consideration. Good points, Kelly. Glad to have you on, and look forward to chatting with you again. Let's move on to Atlanta 403 Bobby in Cleveland. Bobby, are you on your HT tonight?
Negative. I'm on Joe's base station here over at the Vortex. But you know what I got is HTs. All ICOMs, baby. Yeah, I agree with you guys on the antenna stuff, and your antenna should be matched to the frequencies you use. And I use a lot of those Smiley antennas on most of my ICOMs, and they work really, really well. I get a couple Larsons and a couple other ones. But, match your antenna to the frequencies you're using, and you get your best results. That makes a big difference.
Yeah, and sometimes with HTs, like I said earlier, some models of the HTs don't hold at 50 ohms like our mobile radios tend to, and our base stations are pretty reliably right at 50 ohms. So when you have these inexpensive radios that are basically a 50 ohm radio, but it's actually operating at 38 ohms, and you put an antenna that's tuned on that radio, well, it gets detuned as soon as it matches to a 38 ohm impedance. And that's one of the concerns that I have. Now, if you're using a higher end radio, that's probably not going to be an issue. But some of these inexpensive radios are not matched well in terms of, the standard of 50 ohm impedance. So just something to bear in mind. So I guess the cheaper the radio, probably the more likely it's going to perform at its best with a factory antenna. Whereas if you buy a little better radio, it's probably going to have more of a 50 ohm standard impedance, and the chance of success is higher, I think, with external antennas. But I think that's good stuff. So he's using Smileys and Larson and other external antennas. Someone had, I believe it was Colt, had indicated before he likes to use BNC adapters on his HTs so that he can make a quick swap from antenna to antenna. If I did that, I would very quickly forget which one is 2 meter, which one is 440, which one is GMRS. And so I'd probably be trying to talk GMRS on my 220 antenna. You ever get them mixed up, Bobby?
No, usually not, because most of my radios, you know me, I believe in one band, one radio, one antenna. So most of my radios are going to be UHF only or VHF only, and I've got all the antennas color-coded with little tape, so I can always know what I'm putting on which radio and when. And some of my ICOMs don't have BNC connectors, so I don't have to worry about it. They got a proprietary MX connector, they call it. So it's kind of hard to mix them up. But yeah, I color code them anyway with a little piece of tape. So.
All right, so he's using black tape to color code his antennas. That makes perfect sense. All right, Bobby. Well, I'm just kidding. I know he's got colored tape. Yeah, but Roger's over looking at me like, "What are you even talking about?"
I'm like, I don't know if he said that exactly, but yeah, let's roll with it.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Bobby. With that, we're going to keep right on moving here. We've got Gainesville, 113 Keith in Buford. Keith, what do you like to use for HT radios?
Thank you, Justin. The only HT I have is a Wuxon, and I apologize, I pronounce that the way it looks on paper. But I've got a KG935, and quite honestly, I've only used that when I'm leaving the Smith Family Barbecue each year, and I usually reach out to Atlanta 770, and we make a contact until I get back toward where I'm at here in Buford, Flowery Branch. My main radio that I'm using now is a Motorola CDM1250 that I think I purchased off of eBay. And then I'm running about 40 feet above ground, Browning BR6356 Yagi antenna pointed at flagship. So hopefully that is getting me there and giving me a clear signal. If I may, I'll switch over to the NGARA. I'm using actually one HT for that, which is an ICOM ID52A, not the Plus, which is a little more expensive. But I use that because it's got GPS, and in my work, I travel 100% of the state of Georgia, corner to corner, and about two-thirds of Tennessee from the eastern line between Tennessee and North Carolina all the way out to the Tennessee River. And what I like about the ICOM ID52A is it has a GPS system, and using RT systems and repeater book, I can download the repeaters within, say, a 20, 30, 40, 50-mile radius of my path of travel. And that radio will drop off the distant repeaters and stay within a 30-mile range, which is what I usually choose, of where I'm at. And I love that radio because it...
Timeout timer got him.
The repeaters within my 30-mile range as I travel.
Which radio is that?
It's a CDM1250.
That's very nice. The CDM1250 will do that?
So not the CDM1250. It's more of a mobile base station, which is the way I'm using it. But the ICOM ID52 will do that.
Okay, the ICOM ID52. Are you looking for that?
I'm looking for it.
Yeah. I have a CDM1250 at the Tiki Bar, and it is in desperate need of an updated program. So I don't have any means of programming a Motorola radio, and it would be really cool if somebody could update the code plug in that CDM1250 for me. I'm not sure. I'm not sure who has that capability. I know that Andrew Stedman does, but he is so busy these days, I hate to bother him with it. So it does have the wideband entitlement, and I would hate to lose that in reprogramming it. But I don't know. We might have to figure something out. It'd be nice to be able to use that also for the amateur radio stuff. But then I don't know if we can program some of it narrowband and some of it wideband. I'm not sure how that's going to work. But that CDM1250 is a solid piece. I like that radio. I'm not a big Motorola guy, but that is a really, really good performing radio. Don't have any experience with the ICOM. Have you found it?
Yeah, I just put it up a few seconds ago.
Oh, and I missed it.
We can bring it back. It's right here.
Yeah, right. I must not have been looking. But yeah, that's pretty cool that you can sort of roam about your path, and it'll find the repeater. I'm betting that's going to be looking at RSSI values from the various repeaters that's in its program, and it's going to choose the one that has the best RSSI return. So it's probably doing some sort of a chunk to find the repeater that has the best RSSI return. That's pretty neat.
Or could it be GPS enabled as well? Or,
Well, I suppose it could be GPS and could be locating those repeaters based on GPS value as well. Either way would be a functional application. So that's neat. All right, so there's the ICOM ID 52A right there on the screen, and that's a neat looking radio. And there again, it's got lots of functions and features, but most of the buttons are on the front so that you're not, when you go to grip that thing, and not accidentally changing 10 different parameters.
Right.
So that's for my big fat hands. That's something that is pretty important. All right. Thank you for that, Keith. With that, we're going to keep right on moving. Next, we have Atlanta 849 Pamela in Duluth. Pamela, do you use any HT radios, or are all of your radios mobile?
Well, good evening, gentlemen. Atlanta 849. Well, of course, my favorite radio, because I'm there most of the time when I'm on it, is in the car, and that is my Wushin G1000 Plus, and I've had it for 3 years. Didn't know about the Kenwoods before that, so that's what we ended up with. We probably would have had the Kenwood had we known about it, but it's been awesome. And we have the Comet antenna on it now, the 5/8 wave, which now has become a remote-controlled antenna because I cannot get up there and change that thing going in and out of the garage. Let me break. And I've got something else if you want to comment.
Well, I remember Ernest was showing that that device that will sort of fold the antenna down so that when you're trying to pull into a garage, you're not banging that antenna against the door and the door frame and scraping it along the ceiling and that sort of thing. So that was pretty neat to be able to hit a button and just have that antenna fold itself down so that the profile changes to the 2 inches higher than the body of the car. That's
because whenever I'm using the Comet 2x4 antenna, if I go into the garage, I always have to get out and kind of break it down.
Yeah.
But that it requires stopping the car, getting out,
Right.
And sometimes I've just gone through either drive-throughs or low overhangs and hit it, like boom, and it fell off. So, Pamela, that's a good thing that you got there.
That's a neat tool. Yeah, when I go into the parking garage at work, as long as I stay on that same level as the entrance, if I can park there, then I don't have to worry about my antennas. But if that's full and I have to go up or down, then I get out and take the antennas off, and I hold up traffic, and people grumble.
Not cool.
Not cool. I'm not breaking antennas over. I'll turn around and go home before I'm going to break another antenna. Mm-hmm. So and that's it. I've broken an antenna in the garage. I'm not going to do that again. So if it inconveniences you by 2 minutes waiting for me to spin my antennas off, I have zero concern over your 2 minutes. So we're going to take the antenna off. So. But that's a neat tool. That would be to be able to just hit the button and not have those guys blowing their horn at me in a parking garage. That would be good. That'd be good. So good stuff, Pamela. What else did you have? I know you weren't finished yet.
Yeah, I knew you'd want to comment. That's why I waited. But before I talk about the HT, I just wanted to say it was great to walk into a JR's and everybody's there, and I'm late. And there you and Julie sat, and that was so good to see you. I know you've been wanting to because you talked about it, but thank you for surprising me. And Rogers did tell me there was a surprise when I got there. And, of course, Randall, Gainesville 100, I knew he was going to be trying coming because of the meeting and getting there, so it's good to see him along with everybody else. But me break. HT. Ernest uses this mostly. It's the, gosh, it just went out of my mind. The Baofeng UV5RM, and it's a 10-watt. Now, he added a different antenna because we sit in the valley here, where he uses it the most, and the antenna is an RH771, the Nagoya one, because when he's down there doing the burning and everything, it really helps with it. And then at the end of the driveway, he can use it, and it comes in really good. But you can't usually hear me talking back to him, but he can always listen. I'll break for a moment. Did you have any comment?
No, that Nagoya antenna I know is a very common aftermarket antenna for GMRS and for amateur radio. It's a pretty highly regarded antenna, but it's one of those antennas that I don't know. I really prefer on an HT the factory antenna. I think I had the GMRS Nagoya. I think I had it with a little 1 inch or 1 1/4 inch mag mount. We used that on the car a couple of times, but it really didn't seem to make that much difference between the factory antenna and that external antenna. So, but it's not expensive. Do you have it there?
I had one, but this is a dual band. I'll find a GMRS in a second.
It seems to me that antenna was $30 or maybe somewhere in that. So it's not an expensive antenna. And the one that I purchased came with the mag mount base. I think you can buy it without that base as well. And I want to say it's like in the $20 range. But you can't go wrong at that price range, especially if you want to experiment with antennas. What I didn't like about that antenna on my HT was it's 17, 18, maybe 19 inches long, and it was real springy. So, if you try to set the radio down on its bottom, the springiness of that antenna would throw it down. You could never get it to stand upright because that antenna would flop back and forth and eventually make the radio fall down. The other thing I didn't like about that is if you're trying to operate that radio and you're holding that, the thing is springing all over the place, and it just seems like it's ridiculous to try to hold a radio still while that antenna's flopping back and forth and talking on it. So I didn't ever really care for that, and that's probably one of the things that turned me off the most on external antennas.
Yeah, but you know what? I have that same antenna, the Nagoya 771, and I put it on my Anytone. And if I'm inside my home monitoring or if I want to talk, I have to use that antenna. Now, I can monitor well, kind of like with the other ones, but to transmit, I have to use that antenna. Otherwise, people say that I'm scratchy or sometimes I may not hit the repeater just right. So it is a nice addition for your HT. Like you said, it's a little floppy and all of that, but I try to stand as still as possible, as Julie was saying earlier. Just become a statue, and it'll work.
And that's, I guess, for me, if I want to talk on a radio here on the property, I'm going to go to the tiki bar. I'm going to go out here to the barn. I'm going to go to the truck. I'm going to go use a mobile radio to try to talk out of here. But I do like to have the handy talkie on me, so that, as I'm out and about in the yard, I can kind of monitor and hear what's going on.
And, that's the importance of let's break. When you have multiple radios around your house, that's good. For me, I have one mobile, one mobile and a whole bunch of HTs. So sometimes I'll leave the mobile in the car, and I'm like, do I want to bring the mobile right now? And then when I go back out, I get to take it back out. So a lot of times when I'm inside the home, I just have my HT on me.
So you need to grab a couple of radios off of eBay and poke around at programming them, and or meet up with Houston or Ed over at the Tuesday afternoon gatherings, and get your radio programmed, and have a couple of machines just up and running around the property there, so that
and that's what I was thinking about too. Just get something good used, part 90 sub, $100 maybe, and
they're out there.
Just kind of go for it.
Yeah, they definitely are. So, and that's where most of those barn radios have come from, either hand-me-downs from Gary. I've got a radio. I don't even remember where I bought it. It's a 2-channel radio, flagship and ball grounds. That's all I can hit from here anyway, right? So flagship, ball ground, monument. It'd be nice, but it's a 2-channel radio. So flagship and ball ground, and that's what that radio can do, and it has served very, very well. Currently, it's offline, but it could be brought back up in just a couple of minutes, and it's not a high power radio. Doesn't need to be. So does pretty well from right here in the middle of the woods. And
one thing too, we're talking about, getting you getting your FCC license or your FRN number, or if you have, friends and, maybe other family, getting a good used radio to give them is a good start as well. Maybe a used HT, even if you go on eBay or if you go on Amazon or anywhere, there are good used sections that you can just kind of get to give somebody as a try before making an investment.
Well, I think there's a lot of value in that. If you can carry a radio around, or even if you just have one back at the house, and you encounter someone who has an interest, but I'm not quite sure, I don't know. I've taken radios to work and given them to my coworkers. Take it home and listen. I'm going to be on the air tonight, and see if what you hear is interesting to you at all. And a lot of them will bring the radio back, and I couldn't hear anything, or I forgot, or all the excuses. But at least they were given that opportunity, and it doesn't cost me anything to do that. And even if I don't get the radio back, it's not that big a deal. It's just a few bucks. And the cost of going to JR's Log House on a Saturday, not that big a deal.
Exactly.
Because let me break. Because it really wasn't that expensive for Julie and I to eat on Saturday at JR's Log House. That was remarkably affordable.
I told you, you'd
and
be
very tasty.
Right. I told you, you'd be hard pressed to break $30, and that's
that's
getting coffee, a drink.
Right.
It works.
Julie had and then she ended up taking home. I don't remember what she took home. Was it banana pudding? She took home a banana pudding, and it was still less than $30. So her meal was remarkably inexpensive, and mine was, I don't know, $13 maybe. It was pretty good food. So very pleased with that. It's not that often you find quality, good sized portions, and very, very good pricing like that. So it's a good combination.
Bang for your buck. I don't
Sure
know.
enough.
It's hard to beat. Very hard to beat.
Yep. Well, I might have to go back, whether it's a brunch bunch or just because it's definitely worth going back to. So Pamela has definitely found a great place to gather. If you just want a good breakfast or lunch, you could always go there during Pamela's brunch bunch, and then hang out with some radio folks and have a pretty tasty meal. So
and that's the third Saturday of every month.
Yeah, so there you go. All right, let's continue on. Next we have Cades Cove 23, John in Dandridge. John, what do you like to use for HT radios? That didn't sound like John.
This is Cades Cove 23. I use for a handheld a KGS88G Plus, and they're an Ocean, and they're waterproof. And I mean, when I say waterproof, really waterproof. I've taken them whitewater kayaking before and had it in my PFD, and no problem. For ham radio, I've gotten into the Quancheng. What is it? I can forget the name of it. It's the common cheapo Quancheng though, and I put the Easy Goomer there firmware flashed onto it, and I've got the Nyona dual band folding antenna for the ham, so I can do 2 meter and 70 meter. But with the GMRS, I just use the rubber ducky that comes with it.
Very nice. And those radios perform well in the Tennessee terrain.
I've not had a problem with it. I've noticed since I got my ham ticket, the 2 meter with that I've always pronounced it wrong, I'm sure, Nyona, the big folding antenna, it works amazing. I get some noticeably better reception than I do on the 70 meter, but I mostly use the repeaters on GMRS, and they work great. simplex communication in my area of Tennessee is you have to be very close, like within 3 miles typically.
Yeah, simplex, mileage will vary. Of course, they sell the little FRS radios at Walmart, and they claim a 42-mile range. But that's if you're on the top of one mountain peak and somebody else is on the top of another mountain peak. I think it was Tom from Flowery Branch was talking about 32 miles. And he talks, was that the GM30 he said he used?
Yeah. The GM,
he talks with the GM30 to the repeater. But if you were at flagship with an HT doing simplex, I wonder if you'd make that trip. Maybe you could, maybe not. So that's 32 miles. So 3 miles in simplex in regular urban terrain, I think that's pretty good actually. I tell people, when you're talking simplex, half a mile or line of sight. And if you're really much more than that, like people talk about, I want to take my radios into the woods. Okay, well, as long as you can see them, you can talk to them. But once they get over the ridge, or they're around the bend, or they're down in the valley, you're going to lose line of sight pretty quick. And so low power, high frequency radios are just not going to perform that well in that environment. 2 meter is going to do a much better job in terrain like that than we could ever get out of GMRS. So, well, very good stuff. Thanks for that update, and John, look forward to catching you on the next net. Let's continue on. We've got Ben, Gainesville 42. Ben, what do you use for HT radios? All right, I'm looking at the note here in the comments, and looks like we probably copied that entry incorrectly. So maybe there is no such thing as a Gainesville 42. Let's continue on to Atlanta 245. Thomas in Powder Springs. Thomas, what do you use for an HT radio? All right. We're getting to that time of night where people tend to drop off and go to bed. And so we're going to go ahead and show Thomas as in and out and continue on with Atlanta 96 Jim in Milton. Jim, what do you use for handheld radios?
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, I use the Radiodity GM30. At some point I'd like to get a better one. But currently using this. As far as getting on the repeaters, I haven't been on it that much with it. It's funny, when I'm out in Athens area, I'm 15 miles away coming into town from the repeater, and I can hit it good sound, and I get good replies back. But for some reason, I'm 14 miles from my house to flagship, and people can only hear static. Other than that, as far as repeaters go, I like to keep it on my desk here at home and monitor with it, listen to all y'all out there chit-chatting. Other than that, I do use it often, but it's all simplex stuff. Back.
Well, very good. And once again, with that GM30, that's one of those radios that's inexpensive. And so if you lose it, you break it, you drop it in the mud, not that big of a deal. And if you run across somebody who is fascinated with radio, you can always give that one away. And that's your excuse to go ahead and upgrade into another radio. Be on the lookout. If you're in the market for a radio, check out Hobbit Communications. Whether you buy from Hobbit or not, just definitely be sure and shop them before you make a purchase. And that's one of the reasons that Hobbit Communications exists, is because time and again we would hear of somebody spending good money on cheap radios. And by cheap radio, you can spend $400 on a Wouxun KG KG1000. Is that the base radio? It's pretty easy to spend that kind of money on a radio, and they have a great warranty. If you have trouble with the radio, they'll replace it. That's no big deal. But we know of people that have replaced their radio 2 and 3 times, and there's two things that tells me. If they're so willing to give you another radio when you bought one from them, then, I mean, they're not going to be giving radios away just because they're great people. They've baked that into the price. So that makes me feel like they've sold you 2 radios, but they really only gave you the first one, and they're hoping they don't have to give you the second one. And so it makes me think that they're giving you a $200 radio, but they're charging you $400 for it. That's one of the things that I think when I hear about they have a great warranty and they're so willing to give you another radio if it fails. If you buy a Kenwood radio from Hobbit Communications, it comes with a 3-year warranty. 3 years is a lot more than the typical manufacturer is going to give you in terms of warranty. But they could offer a 5-year warranty because the chances of you ever having to exercise the warranty are pretty small. These radios are built to take care of themselves, and they will last for a good long while. So the downside is you can't program it at home. You can't just plug your laptop into the radio and update the code plug. You're going to have to bring it back to the Hobbit shop in order to get the programming modified. So that's the downside. But if you're one of the radio operators, the hams like to call them appliance operators, and hey, look, this is GMRS. We don't have to impress anybody in our operating prowess. If you want a good radio that's pre-programmed, that is appliance operator ready, and quite frankly, that's the radio I prefer. That's a great way to get a radio, and for the money, you're looking at comparable money to that KG1000, and you're just never going to need to replace it. Let me break. So good stuff. Thanks for that, Jim, and good luck with that GM30 radio. There's lots of people that are using them. Like I said, I think I've got one around here at one point. And I'll tell you, one thing that I will say about that GM30, because somebody had mentioned going kayaking with radios before. I did that. I took the radio kayaking, and I put the radio in a Ziploc bag so that it would stay out of the water while we were kayaking. And at one point, I went to get the radio to see if we could hit Toccoa from the river, and the bag was full of water.
Yikes.
The bag was complete. The radio would have been drier had it not been in a bag at all. The bag was completely full of water. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. The bag was completely full of water. I figured the radio was ruined. I threw it in the trunk of a car. It rode around in the trunk for I don't know how long, 3 months maybe. And then we were getting ready for a trip and getting stuff out of the car, and I found the radio. I brought it in. I thought, I wonder if it'll charge. And not only did the battery charge up, it turned on and played just fine. It transmits okay. It receives just fine. So, a $30 radio. I don't think it was even that. I think I bought that radio. I think it was a 2-pack for $48, $49, $50, something like that. Might have been a sale, but it was a super inexpensive radio. And there was another Radiodity radio that I bought, and it was a radio that actually was a cell phone, an Apple iPhone phone case. So you could pop your iPhone into the radio package. Wow. You could use the radio as a battery pack for your phone. Had a little cord that would come out and loop around and plug into the charge port. And the radio was you could faceplate program it, but you could not code plug program it because there were no cables available, and they didn't have any information on making a cable.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
that's tough.
A neat little radio. I think I've got it around here somewhere, but and you can use it without the phone. And the phone that I have, the current phone that I have, won't fit it. So it's 4, 5, 6 generations of phone ago. But it was a neat little thing because you've got an iPhone that's got a little antenna stub sticking out of it, non-removable, FRS style, but it was a neat little radio.
That's
Performance
cool.
was terrible. It was not a good but it was a novelty thing. It was really, and it was stupid cheap. It was about the cost of a phone case.
Oh, not bad.
Yeah, $20 or something. So neat stuff. All right. Well, thanks for that. That was who was that we were talking? Was that Jim? Yeah, it was Jim.
Did he say that his one of his radios was waterproof?
Was it Jim that was talking about that, or was that the?
I don't know. Was it Jim or somebody else?
I think it was somebody else. That might have been Keith. But let's just check in with Jim real quick.
That wasn't me with the waterproof issue, but as far as Hobbit goes, yes, no, I'll definitely check them out. Thanks for that, and I enjoy listening to. I'm listening closely about what radios other people use and their experience with them as well. So y'all have a good night. Thank you.
All right, good stuff. All right, let's hold the comment till the end if you don't mind, because we'll never get through this. We're already running late. So let's hold that comment to the end. Let's get through a few more of these. But definitely, we'll get to your comment here in just a little bit. Next on the list, we've got Atlanta 16 Brandon in Monroe. Brandon, what do you use for HT radios? All right, I'm going to go ahead and show Brandon as in and out, and that'll let us keep on moving to Atlanta 410 Ted in Talking Rock. Ted, same question. What do you use for HT radios? All right, let's see if Tim's still awake. We're going to go ahead and show Ted as in and out. And McDonough 22, Tim, how about you started off with the same radio, I think, the BTEC GMRS V1, is that right?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I started off with the BTEC V1. I had two of those, and they lasted me for about 5 years, and I used them almost exclusively for the first year and a half or so on the system. And they finally developed a problem with both radios developed the same problem with the volume knob would not. Actually, it wasn't the volume knob on those. They would turn themselves off automatically, and so I could be talking and they would be turning themselves on and off. So I eventually just got rid of them. Let me break. My favorite radio now is the one that I am currently speaking on, which is the Wouxun UV9G, and they've got several upgrades since this one, but I've had this one for about 3 years now, and it's my favorite radio. I do still have the GM30 Radioddity, and it's a nice little radio. It works fairly well, but this is my go-to. I like the fact that it has the super heterodyne receiver, and I put a Smiley Slim Duck antenna on it when I got it. It is a 5/8 wave with 6 dB gain, and it definitely works better than the one that came on the radio. It is it's about $24 for the antenna, I think, with the adapter on it. But it's only about 4.5 inches long, but it's got 6 dB gain. And it works well for me, and always has. So this is my go-to radio. Let me break one more comment. Going back to what Justin said about the radios with the buttons on the microphone. I have the Anytone 779 as one of my base station radios. I've got 2 base station radios. One of them's a Kenwood 8180, and the other one's the Anytone. I use mostly for ham now, but although it does that GMRS as well. But my problem with the buttons on the radio were not the buttons on the face of the microphone, but the ones on top. The Anytone 779 has two buttons on top that will move the channels up and down. And I found it impossible for me to hang that microphone up on a hanger without pushing one of those buttons and changing the channels accidentally. So I took the microphone apart and took those buttons out, put tape over the holes. So the buttons on the front of the microphone don't bother me. I don't need the up-down buttons on the microphone because I hardly ever use them anyway. There's up-down buttons on the radio if I want to go up-down, so I do that. So that's the way I solved that problem on that one. But this Wouxun UV9G has served me well, and it seems like continues to do so. I get good reports on it, and my meter shows me 5.5 watts out with a SWR of 1.01, so I guess I'm doing okay.
Looks like it's waterproof.
Is that which one's waterproof?
Is it a UV9G? Is that what you're saying? Or
Yeah.
that was a Wouxun?
Yeah. Yeah. So I know that the GM30 from experience, you can soak it. You can soak it once it dries out. It'll play. So, but very good stuff. I know that Tim and I started off with the same radio, that Bofang, the GMRS V1. I haven't. When we moved out of the studio, the first version of Studio B, a lot of that stuff got packed up in boxes and is still stashed somewhere on the property. And I haven't seen that radio in quite some time. I know it's still here, but it just makes me wonder if it's going to have the same issue where it just randomly powers down. It sounds to me like it could be a battery problem. Once the battery gets old enough that it's just not going to be able to stand up to that kind of duration. But I don't know. It's been a solid radio, but it's been stored in a box for a couple of years now because the Studio B project has taken so long. No telling what I'll find when I finally dig that up out of the box. It may be the same fate that Tim, wouldn't surprise me a bit. But great entry-level radio. And that's what we're finding a lot of these radios are. They're entry-level beginner radios with beginner features and whatnot. These entry-level radios, though, perform remarkably well. The bang for the buck is solid. You really can't complain about that. And so, like for Tim, he spent $50-$60 on his GMRS V1, and then he bought another one. He could have bought 2 or 3 more, and still been money ahead for buying, like the Kenwood, the portable Kenwood. It's an expensive radio. So you can, when you look at the economics from that standpoint, you can buy a lot of these cheap throwaway radios and still not ever get to the money you're going to spend on one of these good HT radios. But if it's performance that you're looking for, there's a difference. They sound better. They're going to have a better receiver. Tim was talking about the super heterodyne receiver. That's a thing. Many of these cheap radios have SDR radios. They're built around a chip. There's not actually a radio circuit in there. There's just an antenna that brings a signal into a chip that chops it up into little tiny bits and then reassembles it based on the frequency that you have programmed on the front panel. It's not a true radio receiver. It's an SDR radio, and they're inexpensive and they perform reasonably well. Let me break. But they are reasonably well performing. They're just not high end, and so that's what you get out of those other radios. But were you able to find the radio Tim was talking about?
That was the what was it again? The UV9?
Yeah, I think it was the UV9.
Yeah, should be able to pull it up in 1 second.
I'm told that the KGS88G is waterproof.
Okay.
And I remember when that radio was soaking wet. I don't know why I did it, but I did turn the volume knob just to get the click from the off position to see if anything would happen, and nothing did. It didn't light up. It looked like it was completely dead, and it probably was just so waterlogged, and it may have drained the battery. I don't really know, but it didn't even try to come on. However, after sitting in a car for a period of time and drying out and getting a recharge, you'd never know that radio took a bath. So that, I think, is pretty impressive. It just goes a long way. Did you find anything? There we go. So that's what Tim's using these days. That's his favorite. All right. Is that about right, Tim? Do we have the right radio up?
I clicked off the YouTube page there because I can't see the picture. I'd have to reload the page back up. But mine is it was the original, the Wouxun UV9G Pro. That is the name of mine. I don't know waterproof. It may be. I don't know because I've had it for about going on 5 years now, about 3.5, 4 years at least. But it's the UV9G Pro. There's several models have come out since this one come out that are waterproof and have other features on them and everything. But I've been really happy with my 9G Pro.
All right, we've got the 9GX Plus up here, and the Plus is I guess it must meet Part 95. Yeah, it says it's Part 95 right there on the page there. So it looks like it's a pretty solid radio. So good stuff. And it looks like the buttons are well placed so that you're not going to be fat fingering it like I tend to do. So that's also an important consideration. Thank you for that, Tim. With that, we're going to keep on moving. We've got Atlanta 17 David in Decatur, and station with a comment. We're going to be coming back to open floor and comments here in just a couple of minutes, so stick around. David, go ahead with what handheld radios do you use? All right, it must be past David's bedtime. I don't blame him one bit. There is a note here that he just ordered a Retevis 40, and what else does it say? 40-watt mobile, hoping that it shows up on Saturday. It'd be nice to have a fresh new radio ahead of this coming storm, just in case you need to make a call out. And let me just go ahead and make a couple of quick comments here related to that. We haven't made a determination as to whether or not we're going to officially stand up the ESN, but I do know that we will have several people that will be actively monitoring throughout the storm, and I will endeavor to do as much monitoring as I'm able to as well. So with that said, what that really means is if you are in a situation where you are unable to make a phone call and you cannot reach 911 and you feel like you need assistance, we'll have people in place to monitor through the storm to provide information and a connectivity. I've got a whole packet of contact information for various county and state authorities for their non-emergency contact numbers. So from here we can find your county's 911 back office number, and we can get help dispatched to you as a third party. So it's definitely going to be better if you can call 911 first. It's going to be you're going to get faster service. I'm not going to have to fumble through 150 pages of stuff to figure out which county you're in, figure out which 911 center to call, that sort of thing. And it might not be me. We've got a handful of people that are qualified as ESN operators, and I'll start making some queries as to who can be available and what shifts we can cover. But I just want folks to know that if we get into trouble during this storm, this will be a resource. This is the second or maybe the last call that you should make, but we will be here, and we'll be able to offer that, hopefully, that peace of mind that if things do get dicey out there, your power's out, you've got no heat, and it's starting to get cold, and you don't have a way to get out of where you are, maybe we can get somebody to you with a 4-wheel drive or some means of relief. So we'll be monitoring, and we'll be paying attention to the airwaves.
And also, I heard a few inquiries over the air. Some people were asking if Flagship or any of our repeaters have backup power.
So we do have backup power at some of our locations. At Flagship, we have a 1,000-gallon propane tank and a very large generator that will run at barely more than an idle. Let me break. So Flagship should run probably for a couple of weeks before we get into low propane concerns. Provided that the generator comes up and runs properly. We've had some issues on reliability with the generator in the past, but we think we have a new service provider up there taking care of the generator, and we think that we're past all of that. So we have a high level of confidence that Flagship will remain on the air despite the weather. We do expect the power to go out up there. It almost always does. So fairly certain we'll have a power outage at Flagship at some point through the storm. However, we think that Flagship will be up and running. We do have backup power at some of the other sites, but it's going to be a mixed bag as to what backup power is available on which sites. Flagship is going to be the one that we should be able to count on, though. So, and if Flagship for some reason does go down, we'll find a way to get up there, and we'll find a way to get that up and running. So, it's a steep hill to climb, though. So. It may be inaccessible. It just is. So
and that's why the simplex challenge is so vital, because if we do get hit with a storm or any kind of event happens, and repeaters go down, it's good to know who your simplex neighbors are. And at that JRs, there are several people there that I can reach via simplex. Randall Gainesville 100. Pamela and Ernest. So kind of know your simplex neighbors as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So and there again, they may not be able to get out. They may not be able to come pick you up or bring you to a warming center or bring you home. But maybe they can reach out to someone who can. So that's the key here. When you have contacts, you now have access to not only the resources of your own, but the resources of theirs as well. So the more simplex contacts you're able to get and keep and maintain, the better redundancy you have, and the better coverage you have if you get into a tight situation. So we'll hope for the best, and I hope that we're going to be looking at a relatively mild weather event. I think a lot of it's going to go north of us, but we have a lot of members that are north, so it could be in the thick of it one way or the other. So with that in mind, we've got one more call to make. We have a guest check-in from WSIC 923, Michael. Michael, did you have any comments for tonight's net? All right, Michael. Well, thanks for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the program, and look forward to hearing you on the air again real soon. So with that in mind, I just want to make mention that any of the North Georgia GMRS nets or the NGARA nets, if you are a valid licensed operator, you're welcome to check in and participate in the nets. So it's an opportunity to hear how your signal sounds to us right here in Studio Vanguard, and get an idea of what your signal sounds like to others on the air. So, and it's also an opportunity to test your equipment, make sure you're able to tune in and get the repeater, and be able to interface that way. It gives it a chance to get a taste of the network before you invest your hard-earned money in a membership. So we definitely want to make sure that if you become a contributing member, we should be able to. We want you to be able to make good contacts into the repeaters before you send that money in. So I got a quick note here. I want to go over. It looks like I have a list of locations with power backup. So Flagship, Buckhead. Oh, it just went away. Let me pull it up. Let me pull it up for real. Rome, Lookout, Cades Cove, Columbus, and Noonan are the locations that have backup power. So if we do have an event that takes power out across the region or across a region, those machines will have backup power. Thanks, Gary, for throwing that in there and giving me a chance to get that out. Once again for, oh no, we've already heard from Michael. He's got nothing for us. So that puts us at the end of the roster. So at this time, we're going to take any late check-ins, any questions or comments. If you have a comment, just call out with comment and your TAC number or call sign, and we'll get you on the list here for your comment. If you'd like to make a late check-in, we can do that too. Net Control standing by.
This is Atlanta 17 in Decatur. My name is David. I am new to this, and I tried to get in, but there's a delay. I turned my radio off, but I'm using a TID radio or TID radio. I believe it's TD88 or something. It's been a really good radio. I listen to the radio at nighttime and play around with it, but this is really good. I just got interested. I started hearing people talking, and I don't know, I just moved forward. I got a membership, and I just bought that one radio that I had mentioned. It's a 40-watt Radios R8 E7. So I'm looking forward to getting on that. I've got a repeater that I'm setting up. Hopefully maybe we can get something going here in Decatur, Georgia, to kind of broaden the signal. But anyway, I'll turn it back over to you. This is Atlanta 17.
All right, David. We did have you in the log. We called out to you, but didn't get a response. And there's a note here about your 40-watt Radios. Yeah, I glad to hear you on the air, and glad to hear you making that call out there. Good that you're able to participate in tonight's net. One little update here. Just got a note that the McDonough repeater is also has backup power. So if we get into a situation, the McDonough repeater should be backed up quite well, I would think, with backup power. So once again, end of the roster. Thanks, David, for your comments and your check-in with TID Radio. One last call for any late check-ins, any questions or comments. Net Control standing by.
Comment, Unit 120.
I think I doubled with someone, Atlanta 849.
Comment, Unit 120.
All right, Carmine.
Comment, Unit 120.
All right, Carmine, I've got you listed for your comment. Stand by. I'd like to see if there's anybody else who'd like to make a comment or check in. Just stand by for a minute.
GM280 CW57 comment.
CW57.
And Atlanta 317 comment.
There he is.
Okay. All right. So we've got comments from Noonan 120, Atlanta 849, CW57, and I believe that was Atlanta 317. So let's go to Carmine. And Carmine, what's your comment?
I'm going to say this, if you buy Kenwood equipment, I had a noticeable difference on performance, inbound clarity as well as outbound. And with the combination of the Comet 712, I'm able to hit flagship from my address, and that's 72 miles roughly, by the way the crow flies. Break for a second. At any rate, the Kenwood 1800 is what I got. You can't go wrong with that radio. There's no way you can go wrong with it. Its performance is excellent. The audio clarity is crisp. It's just a strong built radio. And I still have my Wushan 1000G Plus. I ain't part with it, but this is my main radio at the base station. I'd say definitely, if you can see a way to it, buy it, and you buy a radio once.
Oh, that's good stuff. 72 miles as the crow flies into flagship. Are you talking on flagship right now?
Negative, I'm talking on Noonan right now. Hold on 1 second.
Punchy though.
Okay, Justin, now I'm on flagship right now.
Okay.
You should be able to hear me. I usually have no problem hitting flagship from here.
Well, that sounds fantastic. I mean, that's nearly full quieting. So that's pretty impressive. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of the 712. I think that's a great antenna. I've used it in a couple of applications, and it's served quite well. Right now, the 712 is in service at the barn right behind us here, right next door to Studio Vanguard. And yeah, I've always really liked that antenna. I think it does really well. For a consumer antenna, it's hard to beat. I mean, you almost have to go to the DB420 to get better performance out of an antenna. Now, the 712 is not suitable for, repeater duty. On top of a 100-foot or 200-foot tower, it's just not going to survive in those kind of conditions. But for my application, for an antenna on a mast and in amongst the trees, it does really, really well. Of course, we're not using it at this moment, but Carmine is, and holy cow, he's he's 4 counties away.
You sounded smooth on flagship as well.
Yeah,
I think the modulation was a little bit better, just kind of all the way level and smooth.
Yeah.
Come you got it going on, man.
No, I think the audio trouble we hear when he's on Noonan is in the node. That's not him. That's us. So, but coming across flagship, he absolutely is sounding fantastic. So good stuff, Carmine. Thank you for that. Love the 712. Now you're not using LMR 400. What are you using for your feed line, Carmine? It's
I'm using
Messi and Pelosi.
Messi and Poloni.
That's what I got. I love
13, which is a 13 millimeter Hyperflex.
Hyperflex.
And it's 0.5 with the 0.500 on the cable. It's definitely a step up from LMR 400. And it's supposed to be zero loss with that 100 for the cable. I have 50 for a coaxial cable. And I had them put the connectors on when I purchased it at buy2wayradios.com. That's the only thing I really didn't get from the Hobbit. But the other good note on that Comet 712 is you don't have to worry about tuning it. It comes already tuned. It's basically plug and play. GMRS, and it's a 9 dB gain antenna. I don't think anybody could go wrong with it as a base antenna. But now the Messi and Poloni is a little pricey. It's $2.65 a foot. But in the long run, you'd be satisfied with it if you get it financially. If you could buy it.
Well, there you go. That's good stuff. And yeah, you're not zero loss, but it's very low loss. And when you think about how much money we spend on our radios, and then we throw the performance of that radio into a bunch of loss in our feed line. Even, LMR 400 is okay if you're 50 feet or less, really 35 feet. All right. If you're at 35 feet on your feed line, LMR 400 is fine. If you're going to be more than 50 feet, automatically you need something much better than LMR 400. So you got to go to hardline, or you got to go to 600, or you got to go to something. And the Hyperflex, Messi, and Poloni, that's probably not a bad way to go. You say you're using that?
Yeah, I can, and that's what changed the game for me. When we were doing Simplex, getting originally into the ball ground repeater, Dana could barely hear me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always say, he said, "Oh, we hear a station out there, but you're covered in snow." And I was trying to figure out, this was almost 2 years ago now.
We don't want to talk about snow with the weather that's coming.
No pun intended. But yeah, so when I changed everything to the MMP, Messi and Poloni coax, that changed everything. I was able to receive better, transmit better, and as you don't know what you don't know.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But and that's the whole fun about this radio hobby as well, is trying out different things,
right?
And kind of messing around. But I can say that it works, and I still have it to this day. So it definitely works.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a lesson that I learned early on. The feed line matters. And one of my earlier installations, I used some very low grade. It was an LMR 400 lookalike, but it wasn't an LMR 400 performance alike. And so in my 30 feet of cable, we had high SWR. We just didn't have great performance, and just changing that to legit on LMR 400 made a huge difference. So there again, that's one of those things. It might be hard to spend a bunch of money on it's just a piece of wire, right. But it's more than just a piece of wire. And the loss in the feed line, when you're putting a bunch of power into your antenna system, and it's just being lost in the feed line, or worse, it's being reflected back to your radio. That's not good. It's hard on your equipment, and it makes the money that you spent less performance. It just takes that away. So Carmine was one that we kind of watched come on the air right at the beginning, and he was hard to read, and he was struggling, but he threw some money at it and got some first rate equipment. He's got the 712, he's got the Kenwood, he's got the Messi and Poloni. He's pretty serious about the game. Let me break. And so his signal's getting through and doing just a fantastic job. So good stuff. Thanks for coming on and sharing that equipment lineup with us. Carmine, are you using an HT for anything at all, or are you strictly base radio?
I have two Busan HTs, okay? They push 5.5 watts, the same one that Tim's got over there, but I almost didn't get into this hobby because I couldn't hit anything. I'm 11 miles from the repeater in Noonan. I have a hospital, Piedmont Fayette Hospital here. It's a power station, and there's a data center that just opened up the size of Mount Olympus. Mm-hmm. So there's nothing wrong with the handheld, but it just don't work from the stress. If it wasn't for like Cat 69, Dana, and Jason, Rome 313. If you go over the base, you'll be doing good. You'll be able to get out and be heard. And that's what I did. And I asked Dana, I asked Ronnie, and so they gave me some pointers on the antenna. And I bought one Kenwood from the Hobbit, an 8180, the older ones. And I went and I bought this 1800 because I heard it was new, and it was baddest on the block for GMRS. And I get, by the way, with coaxial cable, I'm on high power right now, and I get an SWR, I'm using a SureCom 102. I get an SWR 1.21 on high power.
Very nice stuff. All right. Well, thanks, Carmine, for participating tonight, and good to know you've got a Class A radio station set up over there. So,
well,
good stuff.
And speaking of HTs, I love HTs as well. Probably all of us started off with an HT,
Mhm.
but at some point you're gonna want more out of your HT. Then it's like, okay, let me get another antenna, and then maybe let me put an antenna on a tree pole, and we just keep going and going. It's fun, but
It is, and so many times we talk about, number one, the first thing you got to do, and this is kind of Carmine's path, right? The first thing you got to do is get on the air. All right, you get on the air, you make some contacts, you get some signal reports. Yeah, I can hear you, but you're kind of scratchy. All right, so what's the second thing you got to do? We make incremental improvements. We spend a little bit here. We buy this a little bit better coax. We buy this a little bit better antenna. We don't want to spend too much because I don't know how serious I am about this, but let's make a little improvement here, and the next thing you know, we're into, all right, we spent a chunk of money, but man, if you got a station that sounds like Carmine's, that's a worthwhile investment. And maybe you don't want to spend all that money up front, and that's fine. It's okay, because the value in this is that the things that we learn as we go. We put up that $40 antenna because we don't want to spend $120 on the 712. Is that what they cost these days?
I think when I pulled it up, I think it is at around a little over 200 now.
Oh my golly!
Like 212, I think.
Ooh.
Yeah, I have it right here.
It's been a while since I bought one.
It's right here. Let me pull it up.
So we spend $40-$50 on an antenna because we don't want to spend $212 and
$222.95.
$222.95. We don't want to spend $225 on an antenna right out of the gate. But eventually we may get there. Meanwhile, you've learned a lot about antenna performance and signal propagation and conditions. You learn a lot about what your signal sounds like from your location. And these are all things that are just valuable things that you can't learn from looking at a book or looking at a web page or looking at a sales brochure or talking to the guy at the Hamfest. You learn these things by doing these things. And that education is powerful stuff. So very good. And Pamela and CW57 and Atlanta 317 been waiting patiently. Pamela, I'm going to come to you right now. Pamela, go ahead with your comment.
Okay, gentlemen, thank you. What I was trying to catch you real quick was Caves Cove 23 is the one who has the waterproof Wushan 5KG35, just for your information, all right? Also, a couple of other things. Ernest puts that bale fan on a burn lid in the backyard, and because he just listens to that because he knows he can't talk on it. So that's why he's able to use that with that long antenna. On that, and also Rogers Dale 87. He's listening. So as far as the cable, I'm not sure about what cable he's got on this, but I added one of those ones to work. Yeah, are using the that you were talking about that Gary has, the 450, I think, the 470. I think that gets everything so everybody else can get on. And I'll try to have those pictures on tonight from the luncheon this weekend. And back to you.
All right. Well, good stuff to think about, and we'll definitely have to look forward to those pictures. I'm kind of looking. Yeah,
you're in a couple of them.
That was tasty stuff. So we'll be back. I'm sure we'll be back at some point. I just don't know when. Saturdays are just tough for us to. We're always booked with something, and for us to both be available on a Saturday is uncommon. Basically, what happened is we've had 4 or 5 things that were in the works, in the planning, that have all fallen through, and so then let's just go and have breakfast and some fellowship with some good people, and that's how that works. So, all right, CW57, let's go ahead with your comments.
Yes, sir. I just wanted to get in here and say that I really do appreciate you guys taking the time to help me out over the last couple of years, and it's been a really, really fantastic time. And I really appreciate you guys with the net, all of y'all chipping in, and everybody that's helped me around. And I surely do appreciate it, and I hope God richly blesses each one of y'all. Take care. Be blessed. WSGN 280, CO 57, Stevens, Georgia. I'm listening.
All right, that's our friend Operator Bruce, and he's been with us for a while now. There again, and back to Julie's comments from earlier in the night, we often get into radio to make contacts, but when you come to North Georgia GMRS, you may find that you make relationships, and I think that's the difference here. We've got people that don't like what we do here. We've got people that don't appreciate the network. We've got people that misunderstand what the value of communication is, and they want to interfere, and they want to engage in a destructive fashion. And what's unfortunate is that they'll never know the kind of relationships that they could have if they would just behave and play nice and operate radio the way that they're supposed to. And I would say this, all right, if you're unhappy with what North Georgia GMRS does, if you believe that we are somehow wrong in the way that we operate, then I would say it's your obligation. It should be your purpose to file a complaint with the FCC and let the FCC know that you are aware of what we are doing and you think it's wrong and that they should do something about it. That is the right course of action if you believe that we are operating improperly. I don't believe that we are. I believe that we are operating in compliance with Part 95 rules. And if we're not, then the FCC needs to let us know. They're the authority that has the tools to say that we should or should not do what we're doing. All right? And they've not said anything to us. So we've no official communications from the FCC, and I'm well aware a number of people have filed complaints with the FCC. If they're not saying anything to us, what does that tell you? It tells you very strongly that the FCC doesn't have a position here. They don't have a position to come to us and say, you have to stop linking, or you have to stop doing this, or you have to stop doing that. You can't be on all 8 repeater pairs. We have been, we're going to continue to be until there's a reason for us to change. And that reason is, there's only one reason. There's only one reason, and that is because we were compelled to by the FCC. So if they're not telling us to stop, we're not going to. You can jam all you want. You can throw your profanities out there. You can key up on top of people. You can engage in all of these illicit behaviors. But really what that says is that you are not a well-behaved citizen on this radio network. And it really doesn't say anything about us. When you come on and you talk about people in profane ways and you use disparaging remarks against people, that really doesn't say anything about the person you're commenting on. It says everything about you. Let me break. And I want to go one step further in this conversation. I want to make it known that the membership of North Georgia GMRS needs to stand above this. Our members need to hold themselves in the highest of esteem and not participate in this degenerative activity. Don't come on and comment. Don't come on and antagonize. Don't come on and make remarks in any unflattering fashion about people that are coming on here and engaging inappropriately. Just don't do it. We don't need to be that way. When you do that, you risk your own license. You risk your own status with North Georgia GMRS because you are in fact engaging in an MOU violation. And, I don't want to go down that road. I don't want to even deal with that. I want the membership of North Georgia GMRS to stand above and just leave this alone. Because the more you feed this, the longer it's going to go on. But the reality is, in all the time that this has been going on, we haven't changed. And we're not going to. So you're wasting your efforts, you're wasting your time, and you're ruining your opportunity to have the kind of relationships that so many people in North Georgia GMRS have been able to build. You're not going to get that. So change your ways, behave, and you can find your place right here amongst us. or keep doing what you're doing, but you're never going to build that relationship. And maybe you can build a relationship with the FCC, but I don't think they care. I don't think they're responding because I don't think they can find a violation. Because technically, by the letter of the rule, we're not in violation. If you haven't figured that out by now, I don't think you ever will. But trust me, when I say that you're never going to make us change how we operate on the air. You can't do that. You don't have the power. You don't have the influence. You can't affect what we do. The only entity that can is the one that you have the capability and the obligation to file your complaint with. So with that in mind, we still have 317. 317, apologies for throwing my rant in there on y'all like that, but my button got pressed. Come on with your comments so we can get everybody off to the next thing.
Yes, sir, I totally agree with your comment, 100%. And they were trying to key in on you the whole speech. So, yeah, my go-to area, the handy talkie, is the Ocean 935G Plus. It's pigtailed now, 25 feet of Messi and Poloni cable, the 7 millimeter out to my pole. Ed Song, it's worth it. He's cutting me in and out. Well, have a good night. Thank you.
Yeah, I tell you, the Messi and Poloni cable is some pretty remarkable stuff. And the Ed Fong antenna, I had, in fact, I'm sure I still have one around here. I have to figure out where that's at. I have the Ed Fong antenna, the GMRS cut, and that is a surprising antenna. It really is. I don't know what its gain values are, but that's a surprising antenna in terms of how well it does. And I tell you, when you look at a J-pole antenna, like the typical copper pipe J-pole antenna, the homebrew, when you look at the electrical circuit that antenna is, it looks like a dead short. It looks like that can't be. That's got to be loading the radio up in such a damaging, but it's not, all right? Because it's not DC. It doesn't. RF energy doesn't perform like DC does, And in the work that I do a lot of work with DC circuits that are 1 mile or 2 miles long. All right, we're working in low voltage, low impedance DC circuits all the time. So when I see something like the J-pole, it's like that can't work, but it does. It does work, and it works surprisingly well. And I've always been fascinated by the J-pole. So that's a neat thing to have. And the Ed Fong has definitely done his research on J-pole antennas and has got the cut just exactly right on GMRS. One piece of very interesting news has just landed on the on the device right here, and that is this: the Comet 712, the GMRS version, the ECF, is available at Hobbit Communications. Guess how much?
Well, we just saw online that it was $225 ish.
I can save you $75.
Wow!
If you go to Hobbit Communications.
Beeline.
And it's a great antenna.
Yeah.
It's a really good antenna. Hobbit also carries, I don't remember what the model is, GP9 or GP6 or it's another GMRS antenna, and it doesn't have the gain that the Comet has, but it's a really good performing antenna, and I think it's under $100. So if you don't need the high gain that the 712 offers, that Comet, did you find what it is? Are you on Hobbit's page?
I am.
It's a good performing antenna, and that's the antenna that's in service out at Studio B right now. So it's just on a 20-foot piece of pipe in the middle of the woods. Let me break. So it's on 20 feet of pipe in amongst trees that are 60 feet high, and it's still getting out to flagship just fine.
Wow.
So you got it up there
and
now.
There it is now.
All
if
right.
you're looking on YouTube, yeah. Here
So
it
there's
is.
the 712. And do you see the other comet that he carries?
Yeah, it's another one right on there. Let's see.
He's going to pull that up here while we're yakking about it.
So yeah, so there's one for 149 and another one for 115 here, I think.
Yeah.
And
So
there it is there.
So the CA on the model number makes it GMRS on that 712.
And 115, that's not bad.
Okay, that's all right. Very nice.
So I think that's 462 to 465 megahertz. 5.5 gain. So yeah.
Excellent. All right, let me find the page that closes us up because I think we're right here at the end of it. It's not there, and it's not going to be there. Do you know how many we ended up with?
Let's see. Looks like 63 total.
63. Very nice.
With a few comments.
All right. Well, this is going to conclude the North Georgia GMRS Regional Net. Tonight we had a total of 63 chickens, including net control. We will now be returning the repeaters back to normal use. Everyone who signed in should sign out. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember, comments on the YouTube video shows engagement with the video and helps the channel to grow. Tune in next week on any North Georgia Amateur Radio Association linked repeater, ARA. What's our topic going to be next week? Did you look at that?
I'm all thrown off because I thought tonight was an ARA night.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. See, next week on ARA, we're going to be talking about step-by-step getting your technician license. So we're going to go through it online and in the YouTube video, and we're going to talk about it on the air and how to get your technician's license. So I'm not sure how well that's going to go because one of the challenges I have when I try to show people this is because I've already got that. I can't go into it as brand new. So we're going to figure out, we're going to create a fictitious person that's going to apply for an FRN and going to have to apply for a license. And yeah, I wonder if there's a way that we can make that go through all of that. Obviously, we can't have a fictitious person take the test. I don't want to engage in anything fraudulent, but I do want to be able to demonstrate the whole thing without having to reveal personal information. So we'll figure something out. I've got some homework to do, and but that's our plan for next week. Let me get back to the part where I have to say tune in next week. We just did that. And so thanks for allowing us to serve as your net control this evening. Thanks, Tony, for your remote logging. I appreciate that. Tony was also watching the YouTube comments. He brought some of the pertinent comments to me. Let me break. So thank you, Tony, for helping out with the remote logging. Good night, everyone. This is Atlanta 946 WQIR 514. My name is Justin.
And this is Atlanta 263 WSAL 368. My name is Rogers.
We are North Georgia GMRS Network.
And we are clear.
Good night, everyone.